Right? Okay, it's 9 o'clock. We are starting the 24-hour election connection.
Woo, woo,
Good.
woo!
Yes, so I'm lucky enough to start this crazy 24 hours off. Cannot wait until the election is over. I'm sorry. I have had so much anxiety. I'm just like I'm sure as everybody else is, but yeah, I just want it done. Yeah, please like the live, share the live, send gifts if you can to help support Beaver Network. There is I do have some picture. Oh no, I didn't get any pictures. Shoot. Yeah, we can't get on 338 right now because they got hacked or whatever.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah. So they got
Okay.
they got the West Coast yesterday, and then now we're down. So I can't get on there. Um, so yeah, if anybody, I think I have a picture in my Discord I can get off if I need to, but
Smart voting didn't look like it changed too.
I was gonna say, but Mrs. Radical, you should probably be able to get on yours. I just can't.
Do you think that's a coincidence that it gets hacked the day before?
Yeah, of course.
Yes,
So,
tag log, this is a Talog, this is a flat earther meeting, you're running on time.
yes, they were trying to convince me to have a flat Earth live in Discord this earlier today, and I was like, oh, I'd much rather do that honestly because like I have so much anxiety, honestly, about this election. I know I've never been a poll person. I've never trusted the polls. I never watched the polls. This is the first time ever that I've watched the polls, and yeah, it gives you anxiety.
I've been watching them religiously, and I think that's what's keeping me up at night.
Do you want to hear?
Yeah, do I? Yes. So for anybody that's asking up, we're just letting up beavers and that right now, and we'll bring up other people later on.
No, 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 no.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, I gotta
Hey,
show you
Kevin.
something, Pasty. Hold on.
Oh dear. Okay.
Liberal 218. What?
Where are you
Really?
looking at it?
Wow. Prairie Princess just posted it.
On our feed?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, I'm moving around my picture. That's good. Wow.
It's going to be close.
Yeah, but 218 for liberal. Like, wasn't it just like 180 something yesterday?
Well, it got hacked yesterday, so I'm not sure we can.
That's true. Yeah.
And that was on what she said? That's the 388.
I don't know.
Where did she get that?
Picking up her daughter at work. She can't come up, but thought I'd share. Oh, well, thank you, Perry Princess. Yeah, did you get off that off 338 or is that from somewhere else? Smart voting? Yeah. I never thought of looking at smart voting, but I could do that too. I wonder how different they are from one another.
Yeah.
Hey, Tammy.
Yeah, liberals are
Casey.
218, conservatives 87, the bloc 25, NDP 12,
Wow.
Greens.
Wow.
So how many do the Liberal have?
How many what?
Okay, so the Liberal is what, 218? The cons are
Government, but
80.
by not by a lot. Maybe a lot. Yeah, a lot.
Well, they
What
get
do
the
you think?
majority, and
Well, JB is predicting a majority. I have been skeptical. I don't, but up until what's been happening with the NDPs, we might just end up with a majority.
I don't
Yeah,
care
and then
as long as it's not the conservatives.
Very true. Very true.
I don't care who gets in as long as it's not the conservatives.
oh,
Just
you know
dead
what's
simple.
really? I got a really funny story to tell you. I buy these containers to put like chocolate and gummies in them, like chocolate and then gummy candies and stuff like that into them. Yeah. You think I could find a gummy candy holder that I bought? No. I think I threw one of them out.
I used to make jars of candies and then I'd forget about them.
Well, my mom wants me to quit smoking, and I'm
Mm.
all okay with that, but I have to have something in my mouth, otherwise I'm not going to quit smoking. It's
Yeah,
the oil
no, I get it.
fixation. It's the hand. I just can't. So I
I
bought
understand
candy.
that one. Candies work well. Mints, I find, are the best option for trying to quit smoking.
Well, I bought and I buy these off Amazon. I don't go to the store and buy candies because God forbid they want an arm and a leg. I bought like a kilogram of the gummy Coke bottles. Those are the sour
Bourbon.
ones.
hey,
Um, I found suckers worked the best because it had the stick.
I can't do suckers, and the only
Mm,
reason is because I don't have the forefront of my top teeth.
right.
And that stick, I always chew on it, and it goes into the top of my gum, and it hurts.
Mm.
So I have an oral fixation with things in my mouth. I keep telling people, straws. If you're gonna give me a straw, make sure it's silicone. So I buy silicone straws all the time. I
Okay.
think I've got like 4 or 5 packages going now. They're all over my room. They're all over my kitchen. They're all over my living room. They're clean, but they're.
So I'm just gonna say this. It was absolutely devastating what happened in Vancouver this morning or late last night.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so our thoughts are with them. Um, I'm gonna say that I'm pretty sure um, that it wasn't. What did they say? It wasn't a terror. I don't know if I can say that word on here,
It
but a
wasn't a domestic tea attack, yeah.
yeah. So I don't think there's any information out yet, but I have to drop my internet battery right now. Okay, all right, Mrs. Radical, thank you. But yeah, no, our thoughts are with them, and yeah, it's been a crazy day and a sad day. Hey, crash, crash. Thank you. Sorry, cats.
And leave it for the UCT to make it a political stunt.
Yeah, I don't think it's a political thing, but
No, they're using it as a political strategy, right?
oh, oh, okay. Good, Liam. Thank you. Sent on IG. Oh,
Instagram.
I don't know how to do all this crap. Yeah, I was gonna ask if you wanted to talk about how you're feeling about the NDP.
I'm disappointed very much.
Yeah.
Um,
Extremely disappointed.
I was going to vote them regardless, but now that I look at it, I I don't have respect for Jagmeet Singh like I used to. I used to hold him to a high regards,
Yeah.
and now I can't because he's turning into Polyev. And if that's the party that I'm affiliated with, I don't want to be affiliated with me. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm having a really hard time with it too, because I did like what Jugmeat was doing in the beginning, and then because it just fell apart, and now it's gone to obviously like it feels like he just doesn't care about Canada. It's about the party, and yeah, it's sad. It's sad
Pasty,
to
how do
see
you
it going
feel?
this way.
Sorry, 2 seconds. I've voted NDP since I became old enough to vote. And it bugs me that, like, 'cause I was going to vote NDP regardless, like I would normally, because I loved what the party stood for, especially when it was under Jack Layton. I fell in love with the party when Jack Layton was the head of the NDP.
Yeah. If Jack Layton was still
Eh,
alive, do you think he would be ahead of the NDP?
oh, I really hope he would still be. And I bet you any money they would have won at least one of the 7 elections that we've had since Trudeau's taken over. And he would have been the best prime minister Canada had. And I'm really disappointed and really kind of angry with the NDP because it seems like they've abandoned all of what the party's supposed to stand for.
Yeah.
And it's really disappointing because it's supposed to be a socialist party. It is supposed to be there for the people. And it's not what it is anymore.
And the one thing that makes me more angry than anything, is I know that Jagmeet is a lawyer outside of being an MP or a party leader, but he didn't have to go lawyer style and start attacking everybody.
Hmm.
There's no way. It was not called for.
Yeah, there's been a lot this week that I've just been like, wow, 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 wow. Like,
Oh yeah.
and that's same with some of the stuff Pierre's been saying, some of the stuff that people have been bringing up. I've been just like, did I hear that right? Um,
Right.
yeah. Um, yes, saying not to trust a liberal.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought it was Pierre that
Jugmeet.
said that.
No, Jugmeet Singh said that it's a little bit sad, with respect, to never trust a liberal. And that makes me so disappointed.
It's just, yeah, like you just, I don't know. I don't know if it's biased, if I'm biased because, okay, I don't call myself a liberal, but because I knew I was voting liberal, like, I don't know if I'm sitting there going, like, how dare you? Or if it's more of the, like, yeah, this feels like high school. This feels like you guys are running for the high school president, not the prime
Feels
minister of
like
Canada. Like,
exactly. And during the election, both French debate and English debate, it literally felt like it was 3-on-1. They were all asking Mark Carney a question, but did Mark Carney not like hold his own and do a very good job? Absolutely.
yeah,
That's the kind of leader we need. We don't need a lawyer who's going to start slinging mud or throw a disabled person under the bus because, oh my God, she has an OF. Like, get over yourself. You're a defense lawyer
yeah,
who tried to scrap with, two people that are public citizen, they are citizens of the country, and I get why he was going to do it, and I 100% agree that it was in his right to defend himself. But hold yourself to a higher standard, dude. You're a public figure.
yeah,
You're not a private citizen. You're a public figure. You're a party leader. You should have more restraint than that.
right.
And after that, he just went like I
Well,
don't know. I went
even
downhill
Also,
after
during
that.
yeah, even during the debate, I thought like watching Jugmeet, I was just like, this is just feels off. It didn't feel like Jugmeet. It just like I felt like there was something off, and then yeah, from there it just went it just got worse.
Also, has anybody else noticed that the Bloc is like trying real hard to bring back the separatist movement in Quebec?
Hmm.
And what Blanchet said about Canada not being a real country?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Like, he made a lot of really good points within the debates, which made me actually kind of go like, hey, the Bloc might not be so bad.
And then Blanchett says what he says.
Yep.
It's almost like they tell you all these pretty things and then they open their mouth and stick foot right in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
the only
like,
one that hasn't done that is Carney.
oh, absolutely.
The only one that has actually held true to what he said he was going to do and has followed through with what he's going to do
What'd you
was
do?
Carney. Which is
Oh,
insane because I've never met a politician before that actually
She
did what he
invited
said
me
he
up.
was
I'm
going
like,
to
nope,
do.
to talk. I'm like, nope.
Well,
No. Oh, it's me. I'm
it's
on.
you. You are
it's
on.
I'm
your
like,
thing.
nope. Because last night I went on and I made an ass out of myself. So I'm like, I'm
Uh
not doing it again tonight. I'm not doing it again tonight. I'm watching the hockey game. I'm eating supper. I'm listening to all you guys. I'm happy to comment. But yeah, I'm not doing this again. I made an ass out of myself. So I'm just going to back out. Sorry.
oh. Okay. All right.
I make an ass of myself regularly. It's okay.
Really?
Merce, has your FYP feed been flooded with people talking about indigenous issues all of a sudden?
Yep.
Oh really?
Yep.
Yeah, all of a
Ah.
sudden
Like,
every creator on TikTok
no,
is talking about
it's not.
indigenous issues,
It's not indigenous. But it's not.
like
Casey,
election.
can you mute, please? You have noise, honey. Thank you.
Like even that one, there's that one creator. She's like really conservative, and
Yeah.
she's trying to talk about um, how good the conservatives would be for indigenous people. It's
No, I keep getting CBC Indigenous,
you keep
your
getting
videos, um, a couple of the other Indigenous creators,
yeah.
Curious Leaf, Tasty,
Hmm.
all these other Indigenous creators just keep popping up on my feed, and I'm like, more of this, more of this.
I'm
If
I'm
we
getting
don't have a voice.
everybody on my feed, like white tea, indigenous, everybody, like CBC, indigenous, APTN, and it's and all of a sudden my it's just being flooded with indigenous issues as far as the election goes.
Right.
And I these where were these videos like a month ago?
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
I've seen APTN, CBC Indigenous, I've seen AFN, I've seen Indigenous creators, I've seen You Stitch Something, I've seen Salish, I've seen
See, and I
Curious
haven't seen
Lee.
any of these guys, and I followed them all too. Like APTN hasn't even popped up on my feed. Like I don't know what's going on with mine, but
Yeah,
I
I
like
haven't
don't
seen.
know.
because me
Yeah,
and Smurfs here are indigenous, our
right.
feed is just being
Algorithm is,
bombarded now.
Yeah,
That's what
it's
I'm
been
thinking.
flooded.
yeah.
Every
Yeah,
other,
our
it's
algorithm
not,
is being thrown that way.
it's not even my FYP or my for you or whatever you want to call it. It's not even my friends. In my inbox, I get sent these APTN. Um, I get, oh, I get Curious Leaf. I get you. I get Zojin. I get Casper. I get this one. I get that one. It's just like, are you freaking kidding me now all of a sudden? I get all this information I needed like months ago?
Right?
Like, the
The
Oh, and I
fuck?
also get Sterling. They are an amazing Indigenous creator, and I'm just like, wow, like I just can't.
Oh, like Sterling Frog?
Yeah, Sterling
Okay.
Frog, they're amazing.
Yeah.
I get their content, which
See, I
are the
was
three
seeing a
pigs
lot
in
of
one.
I was seeing a lot of their content for a while, and then all of a sudden it was gone again, and I'm like, what the heck? But I,
If yeah, if you're friends with them, you can go and they pop up.
yeah.
You can hit their picture and go to the bell, and you can choose to see all their content, all their live videos, everything. It'll be the first thing you see.
Yeah, because I find that lately I'm getting stuff that like I don't know who these people are. Like, why are they showing up?
Right. The only one
Awkward.
I get to see is Wob Canoe, and Wob Canoe actually follows me on this account, and I'm really sad I'm not seeing any of his.
Oh, you're
Mm,
lucky. I follow
yeah,
him, but I haven't gotten a follow back from him yet.
Yeah, it was
yeah.
a certified one. I was like, okay, this is the real Wob. Let's
I
go.
know. That's what I did too. When that guy hits the national scene, he's gonna be PM so fast. I
No
honestly think
kidding.
so.
I think so too, and a lot of people are saying yeah, it's too early that he should wait, and
Yeah.
Canada's not ready. I'm like, I think Canada is ready,
Hmm.
honestly,
Yeah.
and maybe after if I'll say if Carney gets in after Carney, I think that would go great.
Yeah.
Oh, Joker, you spelled Carney wrong, but that's okay. We still care.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not how you spell Mark Carney.
I'm gonna try to fix these boxes.
I'm gonna hop down for a little bit. Thank you for having me up.
No problem. Thank you for coming up.
Bye, everybody.
See you later. Kinda, God, I am so bad at this. Why? Where's the? Oh, there it is. Okay, I found it.
You found it. You're good.
I found it.
And if the boxes are full and you don't want to bring anyone else up, you can actually stop the request box from coming up.
I'm just trying to figure it out. You know how you have the boxes higher up, and then you can see the comments better.
Yeah, okay, so you're gonna
There,
want to go to the 8 grid.
the 8 grid.
So go back into the settings, like go to the cogwheel, I think it is, and
Yeah.
it'll have the 8 settings.
Oh, there we go. We can do it with 3.
Okay, yeah.
Woohoo! And then if anybody else wants to come up, you're welcome to. I'll just I
And
guess
boxes.
it adds a box as you come up.
You want to see my dino? It's so cute.
Your dino.
Did you guys see that lawyer, so-called lawyer there that put out a video saying that Indigenous people do not have veto power if Alberta tries to separate?
That's
Yeah,
very cute, Smarsh.
this is
Sorry,
my
can you repeat
dino.
that again, Native? Sorry.
Oh, I was saying, did you see that video that so-called lawyer put out that says that Indigenous people don't have veto power if Alberta tries to separate?
No.
No,
Yeah, I think I sent it to you, Schmars.
you
What
sent
kind
a
of
lot of things to me. Hold on.
say? What kind of lawyer is this?
This guy, it just says he's a constitutional lawyer. And
Hmm.
he's saying that if Alberta wins a referendum, then Indigenous people have no choice but to renegotiate the treaties with Alberta, which is not true because we don't negotiate with Alberta. We are with the treaties are between Indigenous people and England.
Yep.
No,
Yeah.
I didn't get a video. All the
Oh,
other
I thought
videos
I
I've
sent it to
watched.
you. If it pops up
No.
on the feed again, I'll send it to you.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Really,
man.
it's really frustrating to watch because this guy's talking talking about stuff he knows nothing about.
Yeah, I'm.
Like
Sounds
someone
like
was saying
someone
in
I
the
know.
comments. Like someone was saying in the comments, I'll bet you he's lying about being a lawyer. The the
Probably.
Supreme Court of Canada did say that Indigenous people would be forced to the bargaining table, but we're not compelled to give our consent.
We don't need to give her consent.
No.
You don't have my consent. I'm sorry. I revoked my consent for that.
Yep.
Everyone's like, "Oh, Smarts, just go to your MLA." I'm like, I can't. I physically cannot write her a letter. And they're
Right.
like, "Why?" Because I'm like, I'd probably end up in jail.
Just get AI to write it for you.
Yeah, AI still, I could write it and have it a sarcastic tone, and hopefully she understands. But even though
You could do AI in sarcastic tone. Did you know that?
I know, I did it once, and I was like, I don't like how this makes me sound.
I'm just sitting here just disgusted. I'm watching the Blue Jays get hammered 11-1.
Oh, I was gonna say something, but I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
I've got fake lawyers talking about my rights, and it's a bad day all around.
Blue Jays are usually getting hammered, though, aren't they? They're
What's
not
that?
really a good team. Yeah. Oh, hey, ready to stay up all night, bud?
I have been staying up all night just about every night for the past month, so maybe even longer. I've hit that
Oh,
stage, I just don't sleep.
Friday, I went to bed at like, I don't know, I got off Desiree's Live, and I went to bed, and I sat there, and I put my head on my pillow, and I woke up at 11, and then I got up and went on the live for a couple of minutes. I said, fuck this, I'm going back to bed, and I slept from like 11, about 12-ish, 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and I woke up again, or 6 o'clock, and then I woke up and went on another live, and then I went back to bed again. Like, I'm not doing this.
There's plenty of political lives to join in the evening, so I do my rounds. But then, yeah, lately I've been trying to go off and have a little break on somebody else's live just to have some fun because it gets to me after a while, right? I'm like I've been saying the same things or hearing the same things over and over and over, and it's just
Or even hearing them repeat, like that guy that came out here yesterday telling me that my lived experience is not happening. I'm like, dude, you can't say that.
right.
Like,
Yeah, even that one conservative creator there, she's always going on about how the conservatives are so great. Even she was forced to say in her video that she was forced, like, this clean water thing that they're always going on about on reserves. She was forced to admit that 80% to 90% of the boil water advisories are gone.
yep.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I was gonna say, holy eye, nice pretty blue eyes you got there.
Thank you. I can see very well out of them. Actually, I can't.
I bet you can. Oh. How are you doing, Sassy?
I'm doing good.
How are you feeling about the election tomorrow?
I live in an area that's either red or yellow, no, or red or orange.
Okay.
Red is way ahead. Like in my riding, it's red.
Yeah.
Yeah, bye-bye.
I like that. My roommate who hasn't voted left town for a week without voting.
Okay.
So I like that because he's conservative.
Yes, please leave town.
And I only know a few people who, like, I don't know very many people who are conservative because generally speaking, conservatives aren't very smart.
I'll say they aren't as intelligent as liberals. That's for sure.
Well, I live in a lunchbox town where people who, like, if you think the conservatives are going to do help you with your manufacturing job, no, they're not. And like Mark Carney in his platform has said that if the audio industry suffers, he will help the workers. Traditionally, the conservatives would help bail out the automakers, not the people working for them. It's funny though, because I just had this conversation with my 92-year-old aunt who lives in BC, and we were talking about Pierre Poilievre, and she said she would never vote for him. And she says, in fact, I've never voted conservative.
Oh, wow. Oh, sorry. Crash. Come here. Oh, boy.
I'll just be glad when it's over.
A lot of creators I noticed are getting burnt out lately.
Oh, sorry about that. Oh, my goodness. My cat is at the window because there's a raccoon outside. Crash. Oh, come on, Bubba.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed lately was that the some of the political creators are just like burnt out. They're all talking about how tired they are and they can't wait for this election to be over. And I don't blame them. I've seen some of them like pull all nighters, schmars.
I
I'm
can't.
not pointing any fingers. Just look up.
I don't make very much political content because I find it exhausting. Like
Yeah.
the blowback you get from people, and Joker is a perfect example of this by saying rude things unprovoked.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's uncalled for. Like calling name calling people when you're over the age of 6 is really shows a lack of creativity.
Are they still in here?
No, but their friend Captain, I don't know if they are or not.
Don't see them, so I'm not sure. Oh, hold on. Crazy.
37 days is long when you're dealing with people who go around slinging mud in every possible direction, making up misinformation, spreading lies and disgusting mistruths about people. Like, I would never accuse somebody of being a P3DO without concrete proof.
Right.
I don't think I would ever I wouldn't say it is alleged that somebody is unless they've actually been arrested, charged, convicted. Like those
See,
are pretty, like it's such a low level thing to do.
and my thing with the conservatives, what the conservative people are not understanding is you don't attack children. Spouses, children, they're off limits.
Yeah.
Family, they're off limits. If you want to go after the opponent, that's fine.
Guilty by association. First of all, they've proven that those photos were AI. And
Okay, Captain Jado.
even if he was in a photograph with her, it was prior to her arrest. I actually have pictures of myself standing beside a convicted felon.
Mm-hmm.
It was prior to their arrest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
Because you know what? People who are criminals don't announce that they are.
right, and you're looking at it this way. That may all be what you guys believe, There's a picture. I actually looked on a website that confirmed all the allegations against Mark Carney being a P3 deal were false. Look it up. Back check your news before you start spreading stuff
And
like
you
that
should,
because it.
And
when you
and
want to believe so badly that somebody is guilty of such crimes, it's time to do some self-reflection.
Okay,
word of
Captain
warning
Shadow,
also.
I want.
A word of warning also that can open you up to a lawsuit.
Okay, can I finish my statement, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The thing is, Captain Shadow, the things you're saying about him being in the little black book, that that could be factual. But the fact that the picture was proved AI, because if you look at the lady's arm, there's no bones in her arm. It's not Harry Potter. My dude, stop trust me, bro.
Yeah, that one was definitely
Please.
proven to be an AI photo. And then the other one, I think, was because um, somebody's wife knew somebody from school, blah, 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 back in the past. Like, it's all nonsense. So, oh, that was pretty. Thank you, Lenny.
Ooh, that's awesome, Lenny.
I really think that they need to criminalize spreading of misinformation.
No, Canada First, they were not. It was proven to be AI. When
Go do
AI
it,
generates a
Canada First.
photo,
Go do it. Google. Go do a
Google.
Google search.
Is this
Actually, you know
fun for
what?
them?
It is
Like, I just,
absolutely fucking atrocious that they're saying this. As real as you are native. Oh my god, do
yeah,
not bring his race
my
into this
way.
troglodyte.
Yeah, that one's gone.
Did we say goodbye to?
I'm used to it.
We said goodbye to Captain, and I will warn everybody else that, yeah, there are things we do not put up with in this live.
If I had mod powers, you would have been gone 4 sentences ago.
I'm supposed to give only a couple of second mute, but that one, yeah, you're gone.
In fact, the person who keeps squawking about it, Canada First, it doesn't matter. I looked at the picture myself today because I seen another blip about it. The picture is fake. Just like your mom or your sister or your friends being real people. Like, I could say some heinous shit about you, but I don't sink to your level. Please mess me with this shit.
The easiest thing to do is to take a picture or whatever you're looking at and say, has this been debunked? And it will show you a list of people who have debunked it.
And why do you? I question why you so badly want to believe that.
Yeah, what does it do for you?
Because, you're acting like a conservative who's drank way too much grapefruit. What the hell did somebody say it was?
Kool-Aid.
Not Kool-Aid, it was the other one.
Canada First, you mean like the multiple photos of Pierre Polyev shaking hands with Diagolon
Diagolon?
Jeremy
Yep.
McKenzie?
Mm-hmm.
Only those
Like,
ones are real and not AI
Oh, Pierre
generated?
Polyev being at the convoy?
Pierre, yep. Coming out of that
being
trailer with the Diagolon symbol painted on it.
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Laughing and giggling after that guy said he wanted to essay his wife. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, now it's Peter Nygard.
How do you
Make up
know that? How do you know that he had ties with Peter Nygard?
Yeah. What's your
you.
source?
And you know what the thing is people have ties with people in their same social group.
Jeremy McKenzie has already admitted that he is the founder of Diagolon. A white white tee. How can I say this without getting bananaed? Schmatzi group.
Ashes.
It's a right wing extreme white supremacy group.
Yeah. By the way, I'm just going to do this really quickly because this has nothing to do with politics, but Go Leafs, go. Oh, am I still here? Did I lose my signal?
I can hear you.
I'm afraid I'm going to lose my signal every time I close the door, but the cats are driving me crazy.
That's okay. I keep muting because I got little munchkins running around me.
Munchkins are cuter than cats sometimes, trust me. My cats are all about going crazy right now this time of night.
You know, if people are going to make unfounded statements, they should be willing, able to back them up with some kind of legitimate proof.
Yeah, well, they just come in here to troll and be of total pain and whatever.
Unfortunate, there's enough gullible people out there who will believe it, but they want to believe that.
And that's why we're the more intelligent ones.
Look at this. Fake Mark Carney images emerge as Canada leadership race heats up. And this is from Fact Check, APN Fact Check. I did your homework for you, and I still prove to you authentic photos of candidate with controversial figures, false. Fake Mark Carney photos. Did your job for you. Congratulations.
And if Mark Carney was implicated in anything that Peter Nygaard did, they would have arrested him.
Yep.
Because
And
they
I prove.
have a responsibility.
Yep. No. I know it's not a conspiracy. I'm proving the guy wrong. He asked me to look it up to do my homework, so I did, and I screenshotted it, and I proved him wrong, and he doesn't like it, so too bad.
Fact checks are funded. You got an answer for everything, don't you?
He thinks he does anyway.
Well,
They also think that, if you're pushing Mark Carney or Jagmeet Singh, that you're a paid agent.
This person doesn't have very much credibility, only in the fact that they only have one follower.
He's obviously a conspiracy theorist also.
crafty.
He believes stuff like that. See? Who funds fact checkers? There he goes again.
But Canada First, you still haven't talked about what we were talking about earlier. About Pierre and Diagolon. Like, what's with that?
So do you want me to call Pierre Daddy? Because that'll never fucking happen. Sorry.
Everybody's funded by somebody.
I'm funded by my dad. Does that make me a bad person? No.
I don't know if you've caught on to this yet or not, Canada First, but we don't care what you think.
If all politicians are corrupt, then go live off the grid, don't vote.
Let's play a little.
And I have been around this world long enough to realize that a lot of what people think is projection, and people who think that everyone is a cheat or a liar is because they cheat and lie.
Well, that's obviously not true. I mean, it's possible for me to notice something not having done it myself. Can we agree?
It is, but I said everyone. Somebody who thinks all politicians are crooked, or that all people of a certain, say for example, all public servants are lazy. It's because they're lazy. It's projection.
Yeah, I mean, I don't tend to agree with that. But if we want to talk about politicians, it's no secret that somebody is signing the checks of the politician. So the same way the same way you're going to adhere to the request of your boss is the same way you would likely adhere to the request of those who are signing your checks if you work in the government.
Politicians work for the people, and we sign their checks.
No, we don't. You do not sign any checks. You do not sign a single
Okay,
check.
okay, okay. Can I get my statement out here, please, Cam?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, yes, I agree. All politicians are corrupt. I don't want either party running this country, to be honest with you. I don't.
Yeah. Well,
I, sorry. Go ahead.
no. I was moving. I thought you were finished. There was a little lag, but yeah, continue. Go. I'll go on mute.
Okay. The fact is, I don't want Carney or Pierre in office at any point in time. I would rather see an indigenous person be prime minister of this country.
Does it
That's what I
matter
would
who?
really want. It could be any indigenous person that knows anything about politics. That's all I care about is someone doing something for the people and not the people having to do things for everyone else.
I'm sorry,
That's what
but
I
just
want.
because they're indigenous doesn't exempt them from being corrupt.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Okay, so Canada First, you think First Nations fall for promises these politicians make is priceless. So when
Sorry.
a party has come through with promises that they say they have made, I'd sooner believe them than somebody who has done nothing but oppress First Nations.
And if you guys want to go based on everyone can be corrupted. There's corruption in the indigenous community. There's corruption in our politicians. Let's find someone that's going to work for us and not have us work for them. How about that?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah, that's why we tend to align ourselves with, the lesser of the two evils, the lesser of the evils.
So who do you think is the lesser of two evils between these two parties? Because right now it's basically a two-party race.
Liberals.
You think the liberals? So do you think the state of the country is in good hands right now? Do you think it's been in good hands for the last 9 years?
I think it
As far as-
absolutely has. We've got seen
I think it has.
the
Yeah.
COVID was
Has.
a global crisis. Inflation was global, and
Yeah.
and our country came out ahead of many other countries. And we didn't have near the amount of deaths that they did in the United States because we didn't have vaccination deniers working for us in politics.
Well, see, I would argue the complete opposite. I mean, you can compare the death rates of people in the U.S. and those in Canada, but it's important to remember that Canadians only are about a tenth of the population of the U.S., so that's not really a good comparison.
Death rates aren't numbers; they're rates, and there's a difference.
hey
Oh, I
guys,
thought-
we can't use the D word on here.
Oh, okay.
20% of a million is more than 10% of 500,000.
Yeah, I didn't hear you say rate. I thought you meant I thought you said deaths and then that's where it. Sorry. I thought you said the D word and then that's where it ended.
No, I said rates.
Yeah. All right. My bad. All right. I heard.
I'd just like to point out that Justin also had to work probably the whole time he was working with oh my god, my brain has stopped. Hold on. Okay. He had to clean up Harper.
And the last 4 years, it was a minority government, and a minority government doesn't get as much done historically because of opposition.
Yeah. I mean,
Schmarcy, you see Cyrus Slugs? He's the one that was advocating for forced assimilation in that one live.
me.
No. There's a guy in the comments, Fire Slugs. I saw him.
yeah,
live
I know
a few
Fire
days
Slugs.
back, and he was advocating for forced assimilation.
I know.
of
I've dealt with
immigrants
him.
and- Yeah.
I've dealt with him. He's blocked. He's never coming into my life, so don't worry.
Well, he's in here. I saw you, Fire Slugs. Don't lie.
You
You're
just
in that
defeated.
line.
What was he saying? What was he saying that was
He
so
was
advocating for
advocating for forced assimilation of the indigenous people.
And immigrants.
Well, immigrants certainly, obviously.
Are you out of your fucking mind?
So can I be?
Assimilation
Can
is
I?
horrible.
No. Hold on. How about we assimilate the fucking white community? How about that?
Assimilate the who? Sorry.
The Caucasian. How about
Assimilate.
that?
Assimilate the white community to what?
Into the indigenous religion.
Into the indigenous, what the
Well-
indigenous have endured for
So
centuries by the.
Our cultures, our
uh,
laws, our ways. Does that sound fair?
so okay, well, okay, again, I was not here when this happened, but there was
Neither was I.
obviously
Well,
okay. Well,
we're living it
okay,
still.
well, can I finish? I'm gonna land the point. So whether people like to admit this or not, there were settlers who came here and they fought off the indigenous people. That's obviously a fact.
No, they didn't. There was no war.
Okay, well, the agreement was there was a weapons agreement for a land agreement. That was basically the entire war in a nutshell.
What agreement?
Mm.
You are spouting whitewashed information.
Yes, you are.
Okay, my entire point is that there was an argument and the white people won. Can we agree on that? That basically
No,
No.
there was no war.
I didn't.
Dude.
Okay. There was a.
Hey.
I said a
Do you
disagreement.
know what the hey no?
Well,
Okay,
whatever.
can I
Harm.
educate you on treaties?
Well, can I land my point, please? Please.
Well, I
What you're
want to
doing
clarify
is
some
white
points
hate.
that you're very misinformed on.
Okay,
You're,
can I-
you're
okay. If what I'm saying is not true, how did the country get to where it's gotten right now?
okay. This is the thing. We're gonna educate you on this.
Okay,
The
please
thing
do.
is, go ahead.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
So
Okay.
the Canadian government did not want to risk being massacred. So they agreed to sign treaties. By the way, they were still England at the time. So our treaties are not with Canada. They are with England. And it
Okay.
was a peaceful agreement. There was not a shot fired. Both sides decided that they didn't want to fight, that they wanted to live in peace. The indigenous people agreed to share the land. They allowed the settlers to share the land with them. The depth of a plow is all they're supposed to be allowed, by the way. See, there's a lot of things you don't know about treaties, so I
6
wouldn't
inches, my
start
dude.
treaties
6
if I were
inches.
you.
Okay, so my entire point is that you would argue, and again, I would actually agree that I guess Caucasian or immigrants or white people hold a higher standing in Canada than Indigenous people. Can we at least agree on that?
No.
No,
Well,
no.
so you
See,
would not
that's
agree,
assimilation.
you would not agree that Native people have been pushed to the side. How can you not? How can you not agree with that?
I don't agree that they're above us.
Okay, sorry, they've been pushed.
We're the
They've been
same as
pushed.
them. We're human
Well,
beings like them.
Native and Indigenous people have certainly been pushed to the side. Can we at least agree on that?
Our rights have been ignored.
Okay, you've been pushed. I'm not saying you, but they've been pushed to the side. I mean, how is this even controversial? This is
Okay.
obviously true. It's
The thing
unfortunate,
is-
but it's obviously true.
You see, but that's what assimilation is.
Yes, yeah. So you want to continue pushing our treaties aside, not asking us to be at the table, not doing this, not doing that.
No, absolutely not. What I'm saying
Carmen,
is,
can I ask you a
But that's
question?
what assimilation is.
okay. So
Wait, can I ask you a question, Carmen?
yeah, sure.
A relevant question. When were you? When did you become a Canadian?
I guess. So I was funny story. I was actually adopted when I was like a day old. So I guess my Canadian citizenship a day after I was born. I guess.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
get
so-
citizenship until I was 2. And I was born
I
in this
didn't become-
country.
I didn't become recognized as a person until I was 9.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
well,
wasn't recognized till I was born.
Are you saying that we should be doing that to immigrants and Indigenous people all over again?
No, what I'm saying is that if you choose to leave the country you're born in, as again, I wasn't my choice. I was adopted by a family from Canada, and I now live in Canada. But if you're a fully grown adult and you choose to come to a certain country, at the bare minimum, you should be at least assimilated to that culture. Now, this is only controversial in Canada and in the United States. If you go anywhere in the Middle East or in Asia, you are expected to embrace their culture. And any viewings of your own culture, you're told to go back home. That is very, very true.
Well, that
And
is
I've been-
not
I've been-
Canada.
I've been-
That is
I've-
not how
I've-
Canada was formed.
That's not how
Okay, well,
Canada.
all I'm saying is I've been all over the world, and if you do not adhere to the cultures and norms of other countries, it is not a good. It is
Yes,
not a good
but
thing.
you wouldn't have Canada if it wasn't for us. That's
Okay,
the point, my dude.
my point
Mike,
is
can I
that
ask you-
Canadians.
Can I
Yeah,
ask another
Yep.
question? What do you know about residential schools?
I know a fair bit about residential schools. I know that they were, I guess, forced schools where Catholic
Yeah.
nuns and teachers would again. I don't know of any
FA, they
proof or
would
whatever,
whatever,
but
they would
there-
unalive them, they would beat them, they would whip
Can I
them.
finish? Yeah, I was gonna say all that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I do know with residential schools are. There are some in Quebec, some in Ontario, there's some in BC. So yeah, I know about those.
All over Canada, my dude.
Okay, well, like I said, the majority were in those three provinces, as far as I know, and there may be some in other provinces. But yes, so the real native, I do know about residential schools. So that was your question, yeah.
But how much do you know? Do you realize what they were used for?
They were used for, I guess you can argue forced assimilation. You can use that. People have said that.
That's exactly what they were
Yeah.
used
Why
for.
are we trying to force people who are native to a country to assimilate?
Well, this is the thing. So I don't think anyone is. I guess right now.
You are wrong.
But here's the thing: who was here first?
Yes.
This is
And who was forced?
but
who
this is
was
what I
being forced
said.
to assimilate?
Yeah, this is what I said. So there were obviously treaties that were signed, and
Okay, the question was, who was here first?
the natives were here first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Without us, you would not have the country of Canada. Why
Okay,
are
so-
we being forced to assimilate?
No, Canada was so when the natives were here, it was not called the country of Canada. Okay.
I know that. It was. Do you not think I know my own history?
Okay. Well, it doesn't seem like it, and you don't have to scream at me. I'm not screaming at you.
Let's take a breath. Everybody take a breath.
I'll go on mute.
Let's just yeah. I believe that Carm is actually trying to have a conversation. I don't think he's trying to say that we can all, we do mostly disagree on this platform, but we can all have a conversation. We don't have to get heated.
I think the fact that we don't expect people to assimilate makes us more culturally rich and diverse as a country.
Well,
Definitely.
the only thing that I'll say about that, again, like I'm all for culture, I'm all for diversity, but I would argue that diversity is not actually a strength, and I'll say why. Because the melting pot of different religions and cultures and backgrounds and languages and cuisines are good at the surface, and I benefit from all of it. I love seeing a bunch of different people from different cultures. I love eating different food. But I don't think that serves as a strength. It's definitely something you could benefit from, but I wouldn't see it as a strength per se. So
Would you see it as a weakness?
I would see it as a bunch of people living together, and I guess, for lack of a better phrase, tolerating each other. Because, again, if it was all so high and mighty, we wouldn't have so many protests. We wouldn't have so many people who are yelling about not feeling seen. We wouldn't have protests and marches about people who feel that they've been disenfranchised. So there's, hold on. So in every single multicultural society, there is a majority and a minority. There is someone at the top and there is somebody at the bottom. This is obviously.
Okay, Carm.
Hold on. I'm not done. So the people who are closer to the bottom, by nature and by human nature, are going to feel that their voices are not heard. Obviously, this is why we have so many riots, we have so many protests, we have so many marches. So, like I said, when you bring your culture here, it's all fine and dandy. I totally agree, but I would not say that is a strength.
Okay, what if
Okay,
your culture
Carm.
was already here?
Sorry.
What if your culture was already here and that's the one that everybody's trying to assimilate? You're not getting assimilation.
I just want to point out too that Canada is not a melting pot. We are a mosaic,
Yeah.
and that is
Yeah.
because we accept those things from others that come here.
Yeah.
We don't expect them to assimilate.
Well, then Canada.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
can I ask you a question?
Sure. Yeah. Of course.
If you were told that
I'm
your
not.
culture,
I'm not trying to troll. Like I'm really trying to have a conversation.
No, I understand. Yeah.
well, if
Yeah.
you would just give me the grace of letting.
Can I switch places with you? One of you in the big box. I want to show this guy something.
Oh yeah, I can just make you bigger.
Just to ram home a point. Read that.
Okay, well, there's like people's names here. What does it say? Is it babies? Because it's covered by a number 15. Does that say
Yes.
babies?
It says babies like this that were fathered by priests who were dressed up nicely, then thrown in the furnace boiler. That's how evil and wicked these witches were. A young lady that witnessed this, completely traumatized for life, said there was a sharp scream and then a smell of burning flesh filled the room.
Yeah. Well,
And you
again,
want,
I'm not.
and you want us to be okay with assimilation.
Hold on. Okay, so let's just break it down. Okay, I'm not saying this didn't happen. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is you're asking me.
Okay with
Can I finish? You're asking me to believe a quickly put together thing on Canva that was typed with Helvetica. So again, that could be true, but
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know
Be
entirely.
true. This
So,
is from a witness.
okay, well, I can say I witnessed somebody who did something
Oh
bad.
no,
It
that,
doesn't.
see, you're just trying to talk around racist points.
okay, okay. Here's
No,
the
no.
thing. Can
Oh,
I
am I
see?
being ridiculous? I don't think so.
You're ridiculous.
I don't think so.
Can
I think
I?
that's
Can I?
I can't be in here with this guy. This is too much.
So
Yeah, I can't do it either. I'll be back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
if people are coming to Canada now, what are they supposed and they're supposed to assimilate? What exactly does that look like to you? Like religious culture, everything. I want to know.
Well, that could
Canada
be.
already has more than
I'm
one
from.
religion.
Yeah, I'll answer. So I'm from Montreal. Okay, I don't know if anyone is from Montreal, but in my city, it is very common for people driving cars to stop their cars in the middle of the street because a bunch of Muslims need to sit down and pray in the street. You are more than welcome to go pray in a mosque. Nobody cares. But the fact that we as Canadians have to accept other people coming to our country and holding up traffic only to make a point, you are more than welcome to pray in your mosque. You have that right. Hold on. You have that right. Okay. You are more than welcome to pray anywhere you want. Also in Montreal. And again, this is only coming from the Muslim community. And unfortunately, the fact that we have to not say things like Merry Christmas, we're not allowed to say Happy Easter. We
You
cannot
are
have,
allowed to
hold on.
stop being
Hold on. We
big.
cannot. Hold on. In the Place des Arts area, which is basically the theatrical center of Montreal, we were for 5 years no longer allowed to have a Christmas tree because it is offensive. Now, listen, if that is the country you want to live in, by all means, that's fine. But if I were to go to any Muslim country and preach the word of Jesus Christ and bring my Canadian culture there, it would not go well for me. And I think most people here would agree with that.
I'd pay for your ticket and you could do a test to see how well
I
it
would not risk my life. Thank you.
And you want to be like that.
Right. That's
No,
exactly what you're
I
saying.
don't want to be. I do not want to be like that.
You're saying that you
No.
want to be that people aren't accepted here.
No. What I'm saying is everybody who comes here and becomes a Canadian and who becomes a citizen has rights. But I think there are people, not only people who are Muslim or of any culture, there is a bit of an abuse happening where if you, as in you, someone like me speaks up, you're called a bunch of names, you're a racist, you're whatever. It's like, no, I just don't want to be bullied around in my own country. I don't want that. And why would anybody want that? You guys are speechless. I know. I'd be too.
Because
Because you make no sense.
yeah, it doesn't make
You don't
any
want
sense.
to assim-
Total
You
sense.
don't want to assimilate. You want people to assimilate here, but it's a problem when they don't other places.
I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm saying if you want to live in a country where the people who come here actively hate you and don't want to adhere to the country that they came to, why are you coming here in the first place? And also, the only place in the world, like Canada and the US, maybe Europe's already done, but Canada and the US are the only places on earth where people leave their country in an attempt to make Canada and the US more similar to the country they left from. It makes no sense.
I'm just going to say this. That's what Canada is. That's why that is what Canada is. That's what we are.
Okay, so Canada has accepted a ridiculously high level of immigration in the last 10 years.
Okay.
Before that, we didn't really have this kind of problem.
I've had enough.
I can't fucking deal with that. I'm sorry. He's got white
it's true.
supremacy tactics, and
I was giving him the benefit of the doubt because, he started to talk calmly and I was like, okay, let's let him try one more time. But no, I'm sorry. We don't. Yeah, it's
we
not,
don't do white supremacy here, buddy.
yeah,
We're not about that.
yeah.
No.
It
The
is.
fact that you're talking,
It is a fact that you're spouting white supremacy.
It is.
That's the facts.
the fact is, you're sitting here telling me that you're okay. You don't believe the story of a survivor because it's in Helvetica. It doesn't matter if it's in ABC or Jingle Jam. I don't give a shit. That shit happened.
I'm not even sure who to let up anymore, but let's I'm not going to be as accepting.
Well, I would if I had mod powers. This guy would have been gone 10 minutes ago, and we
Yeah,
wouldn't have
no,
been dealing
and
with this shit.
there are other mods, and I honestly, I just like I said, I like to let people have a platform to talk on. But if you're going to show any kind of racism or bigotry or anything like that, no, sorry. Okay, what is
Chris,
this?
can I get your age for TikTok
Yeah.
purposes only?
First of all, I do want to say something about that situation and to Carm. I don't understand how you can sit here and say, I don't know about this issue. I haven't done enough research, but I don't think it happened. You should really do more research before you comment on certain things. I mean, this is how, neo-Nazism had a rise.
You can't say that word, sir.
Oh,
You have to
sorry.
say Yahtzees.
Yeah,
Sorry.
thank you.
Like, just make sure you do the research first and really understand the issue before you comment on it.
Yeah, saying
Because
it was a complete what do you call that? Like ping pong game I was watching with them.
it was a whole word salad of
Yeah,
I believe it, but I don't believe it.
right.
And even Absorb said he's gonna say he denies this happening.
Yeah.
Absorb one pinged it from the top, and
The thing is
go mom.
the thing that most people have a problem with, including Carm, is that the people who are immigrating do not have the same degree of melanation in their skin, or they're of a different religion.
Right?
And freedom of expression of your religion. Nobody has ever said to me not to say Merry Christmas, and I live in a highly Muslim area of the city that I live in.
Yeah.
And there's Muslim businesses that do Christmas decorations on their businesses because they celebrate with us.
Right.
And
The celebration of, and it's funny because my daughter went to school where the vast student population was vastly Muslim, and she said to me one day, she said, Eid and Ramadan is kind of like Lent and Easter.
Right.
And
And
if a child who's like 10 years old can figure out that it doesn't really matter what people believe, because at the core of the beliefs of most religions are based on helping other people. It's when they
exactly.
become radicalized that it becomes problematic.
See, the thing is, though, this is the one thing I was gonna ask Carm. If you're all for assimilation, then should we not assimilate you, making that your culture is illegal? Because that's what they did to us. They made our culture illegal. Up until 1968, late 60s, early 70s is when we could practice our culture. But yet, you guys still want to emulate us and wear headdresses and be an Indian princess for Halloween and a warrior, and you guys want to buy our stuff and then sell it, and you guys do all this weird shit. And I'm so tired of it.
And I think as someone who's, I would say, is more fiscally conservative, a conservative-minded thinker, I think it actually really hurts kind of the conservative movement because there are a lot of intellectual people who think, fiscally conservative and conservative-minded, but it really hurts the movement that this kind of extremist
You mean
sect
Chris Brown? You have a brain and you can think? Holy shit!
Well, I think it is more like the critical thinking, right? And again, like going back to like the whole Merry Christmas thing, like people aren't forcing you not to say Merry Christmas. You have the choice to say it or not to say it.
Like there have been stores and stuff that apparently have said that you're supposed to say Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. If you're offended by that, you need to grow a thicker skin.
Right.
I don't even say anything to anyone. I'm like, I'm hoping you're having a good holiday. That's all I say.
Yeah.
Because I'm not.
If you say
Oh, honey, Prairie Princess.
saying saying happy holidays is very very inclusive of other people who are celebrating other things around the same time of year. So why wouldn't you
Eh,
want to be more inclusive?
If I have to say Happy Christmas, I'll say Happy Christmas. If I say Happy Kwanzaa or Happy Hanukkah or whatever someone's celebrating, I will say that because I don't. It doesn't offend me. If people say Merry Christmas to me, I'm like, yeah, Happy Holidays.
The thing
That's
is,
literally all I say.
it's
Yeah.
very problematic when you want to start policing other people's beliefs.
Because yeah, the question comes to who arbitrates the beliefs.
I just can't wait till all Christian religion and all Catholic religions lose their tax exemption. I am so excited for that. That'll make that is like Christmas all over again.
I don't really want to get into religion because politics is enough for tonight. So
We have an
No
election
kidding.
and we're going for an entire day. So I'm like, oh my
yeah,
God, this is gonna be a long night.
it's gonna be a long 24 hours, that's for sure. But speaking of which, please like the live, please share, and please send gifts if you feel like supporting the Beaver Network. Just had a plug. So, Chris, can I ask who you are voting for?
Pierre.
Can you tell me why?
Yeah, so I will admit, I'm probably not as educated on the First Nations issues as I should be. I do know there are some kind of issues with, not issues with Bill C-69, but with Bill C-69 being repealed. And that's probably the extent of what I know, and maybe I should have been more educated. As a young person, I'm really nervous about the deficit. I think, I think a lot of people get the notion that government spending is free. Currently, our debt to GDP ratio is about 72%. The International Monetary Fund suggests you're not above 60. Once you start getting around 90, you see really bad GDP decline, and around 100%, you're not going to have any, no one will give you debt because they think you're going to default on it.
Hey,
As
Chris.
more and more debt, that our
That's-
interest rates just go up and up, and it's going to kill our country.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah,
You can't say that word. How old are you?
21.
Okay, just making sure.
Um,
The thing is though, with the Conservative Party, they want to make it so that you can have a first home, but it has to have a rental suite because he's going to give it to corporate landlords. That's what he wants to do. No one buying a home wants a rental property on their property. That's not okay. With Mark Carney, I'm a little leery about Mark Carney's housing. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna put blind trust in him. I know it sounds really odd, but that's what I'm doing because he's the better option of the two.
the issue is not who owns the homes, whether it's corporate landlords or whoever. The issue is supply and demand. So currently, we don't have enough homes, and we just have too many people. A lot of people say it's immigration. It's not. There's a lot of factors that go into it, but we need to build more homes. And regardless of who owns it, if the homes go up, there's going to be more competition, and the actual.
Well, that's why we like Carney's idea.
Sorry?
I said that's why we like Carney's idea.
The issue is the Liberals have had a housing plan every year, and they always miss the quota every year.
Okay, but you have to remember the Liberals were also cleaning up a big mess from 8 years before that, right?
So,
Oh.
Chris,
Yeah.
just so I could get in on this, because I work in construction, I have for the last 20 years. I'm also a registered conservative. Okay? So I understand where you're coming from, but I also understand the business and now and building homes and that whole supply run. The two drastic differences. 1990, when Brian Mulrooney, before your time, obviously, came into power, he took federal government out of home building. From 1990 through to today, the escalation price of homes has just skyrocketed since the federal government got out. Every time we have liberal provincial governments, housing gets built. Like, and you can look across the board through just
Sorry,
about every
can you
province
repeat that last part
to
one more
see
time?
where infrastructure gets built. And it
When
normally all comes from liberal governments.
Yeah, because
Because
housing.
if you don't build infrastructure, you can't build a house. Pierre's plan for the way that he wants to run it is basically cities have to build the houses with no infrastructure because cities don't have funding. Like the only way they get their funding is through all the red tape that they have to put up.
Yeah, and maybe something I need to look into a bit more tonight, the housing
Oh, please do.
part of
Yes.
it.
Because and I'll give you another one. So where I live, I'm in the Ottawa area, just outside of Ottawa in Pierre's Riding. You could go back and look this one up. We have a builder who built 250 houses in 2022. 250 of them. 245 are still sitting empty today. In 22, they had 5 people that they had pre-approved on their mortgages. When they went to finalize the deal for their $950,000 house, the mortgage interest rates had risen. They no longer qualified. They couldn't close on the home. The builder then sold the home in December of 22, on a Christmas special and made $150,000 profit at $550,000 on the sale.
Wow. And not to mention, I don't want to be able to. I want to be able to purchase a home one day and not have to have a rental suite attached to my house. I
Well,
don't want to
there's
rent my
more
house
to it
out.
than just that.
Yeah.
When you look at his plan, it's only on new homes.
Yeah.
So
But
people like myself who don't own a home yet, that was a choice I made a long time ago. And like Chris himself, who's young, so obviously
yeah,
doesn't own his own home. I'm assuming, Chris, correct?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm
Okay. So
I'm 2 decades
order
older
for
than him. That's not fair.
well, no, everybody's different. They come from different backgrounds, but a lot of people, especially younger people nowadays, there's just no money because even parents don't have the money to help. So it kind of jumbles everything up. So when it comes to the home building, if you don't invest in infrastructure, you can't build a house. If you've got a lot of houses and corporations that are holding these homes,
Right.
maximize profits, right? So they want to maximize their profit. In Pierre's plan, the other part of his plan is he's going to sell government land at pennies on the dollar, huge
But he can't.
discounts to these corporations
But
so
he
that they
can't.
could build houses. No, but this is his plan. This is because a lot of people forget that last year around August, he was talking about the notwithstanding clause, but that was to go to anything that violated the Constitution. So whether it was pipelines, whether it was building houses, whatever it was, he didn't care. But so he's going to sell the land at a discount to builders that want to maximize profits. They're not passing savings on to you.
but
He's then going to give tax breaks for those that buy the new homes. Well,
Yeah.
that's large corporations that are going to collect those tax breaks. So everybody that's getting the break isn't the person buying the house.
but
So by the time you bought the house, you're paying maximum on everything and they've all saved money
Right.
and made massive fortunes.
But Carrie,
regardless of if it's, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, regardless of if it's the corporations who are building and owning the homes, the more houses they build, the more competition there is between the corporations, and they have to lower.
But
here's
here's the thing.
can I?
Currently, oh yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the thing is, you have to realize though is federal land or government land is not belong to the government. It belongs to the indigenous people of this country. We are not selling our lands. Crown land is federal and crown land are not federal government land. It is crown land that still belongs to the indigenous people. That's how it works.
And I'll admit I don't know enough about it.
But yeah, no, what they're going to do is not going to save any money on housing. And there's no way that they're going to build the housing that they want.
So
When you look at the two plans, just on housing alone, one's investing money into infrastructure and training the trades. So you're developing a workforce, you're putting in the infrastructure, and you're supplying, and the tape that they're cutting out, like the Liberal Party's cutting out, is going to be basically they're the ones that are developing the architect and the planning and all that safety stuff. That's what they're running. So when it comes to builders building the houses, all they have to do is just put it together. Everything else is taken care of. So they get to maximize profits off of not having to spend all this money to design and come up with engineering and everything else. And the infrastructure is already going to be put in.
So why do you
Plus,
think,
they're keeping the Housing Accelerator Fund, which allows for cities and municipalities, townships, to actually put stuff in. So I've ran numbers on some of them. I actually, as a conservative, I've hit conservatives in Alberta who were like, "Oh, this is going to be great," and then when you run the numbers on them, they don't like it. So, like in Medicine Hat, for example,
I'm from Calgary, so
there,
I know.
I'm
yeah,
from
okay,
Medicine
so
Hat.
you'd understand it. Medicine Hat, for example, I think when I ran the numbers, they have something like 121,000 homes in Medicine Hat. His
I'm here.
15% increase would be something like it's 1,600 homes the first year. Then you got to add that 1,600 homes in. Then it's 2,100 homes the next year. Then it's 3,200 homes the following year. And so while you're building all these homes, because he's going to put it on every city and township to build these homes, otherwise they lose funding. Their federal funds, which they use for transportation, infrastructure, all sorts of different things, medical, all sorts, right? So he's going to pull all that away if they don't do the 15%. But if I build 15% every year, you don't have jobs for these people that are going to be living in the homes. You're not going to have, you know what I mean? So like nobody's commuting 5 hours to the next town or the next city to go and work. That just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
And
Medicine
if you
Hat
don't
is a
have
pretty small
infrastructure
town.
to build, work places, so whether it's adding more grocery stores, adding more warehouses, adding more whatever,
But in
and you
Medicine
don't
Hat,
have the
we
money
don't
for the
have the
homes,
capacity for that.
exactly. And then
Being a
who's
resident
coming
of
in
Medicine,
to live there,
being
right?
a
So,
resident of Medicine Hat, we don't have that capacity. We're not
right.
Calgary, but they're trying to make
So,
us into Calgary, and it's not.
yeah,
Everyone's like so crowded.
exactly, which becomes the problem with his plan. You're forcing townships and cities that aren't, they're not close enough to being able to do any of the stuff he
It's
wants them to
not.
do.
It's not. And not to mention, um, Pierre has told his municipalities to not touch the housing accelerator fund, which
Yeah, well,
they
he's
should
cutting
be
it out.
doing. Right, but this is what I'm saying. We need that fund to build houses. But he
Yeah.
doesn't want that because he wants a different type of idea to do it. He's doing this shit
Well, no,
to be
he wants
fucking.
it to be the same as it is now without the housing accelerator fund,
But that's
which
what we
is
need is that fund. Is what I'm
which
saying.
is provincial governments now have to pay the cities to build infrastructure, but conservative governments don't do infrastructure.
No,
So it
they
becomes the
don't.
city has to do it. So in some cases, and you could go around any major city, I've seen in 4 different cities that I've worked in where there has been coming soon home developments, right? Massive developments. There's going to be like 1,000 houses built here or 500 there or whatever. And they sit empty with no one touching it, with just a sales center on it for up to 15 years. And it's because the city has to come up with the money to put in the infrastructure. Otherwise, you're going to build a house that has no plumbing because it's got no water. It's
Right.
got no gas lines, so you can't have any heat.
Right.
There's no electrical lines, so you don't even get any power, which means you have zero chance of having any heat because you can't even run electrical heat.
Right.
And you can't
Okay.
flush a toilet and you can't
So-
take a bath. So you're now going to have an outhouse in your backyard. And congratulations, Canada's now moving back to 1854.
Yeah.
It doesn't make
Are
sense.
you in Calgary or Medicine Hat or any area like that?
No, I'm in Ottawa. I used to, so a long time ago I lived in Lethbridge and I lived in Calgary for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was up in the oil fields for about 3 years when it first started booming in the early 2000s.
Okay, so you
Uh,
know Medicine Hat pretty good, right? Like you know the layout of the city pretty
I
good.
got a gist of the area. I
Okay.
just happened to hit because of political content creators. One of them, namely Berta Proud Dad, who
Yeah.
I've stitched so many times and corrected him on all of his stuff. It's hilarious because he comes
Is he
back
in
with
Medicine
nothing. He
Hat?
just goes silent. Yeah, he's in Medicine Hat.
Oh,
And he
fuck.
likes to believe that nobody knows who he's voting for.
Yeah, you know, and that's the thing. If you look at Medicine Hat, when you come in, there is a strip in the northeast area of Medicine Hat that is just land, right? Take that
Mhm.
away, there is no land other than that one fucking strip. Because if they took
Yeah.
every house in the flats and demolished them except for the ones that are being like rebuilt or restructured, they leave those ones, take all of them out. They just took out all the trees out of the entrance to Lions Park to make a
Mhm.
fucking, oh god, what was it called? It's one of those things that help with floods, but they only go a certain distance. They built that. But they did that to save the rich part of the city. They didn't do it on all of the city. That's the
Well, no.
party that, and that's the shit
But
I'm done with.
So,
yeah. And
so
then the other part of your budget, right? So when I look at Pierre's budget, it all starts and bases off, right? So like he says 15% tax cut, which you're not going to see until the final year of
I
his
know
first
that.
term,
Yeah, I know
right?
that.
So, and all of his tax cuts combined that he's promised equals $11 billion. But it all starts with the $20 billion in tariff revenue. So like his whole plan that he's been building for 3 years starts with tariff revenue, which only started in the last 2 months. And then how do you create tariff revenue if you're also going to renegotiate a trade deal with the US so that there are no tariffs? So his $20 billion to start off with is already out the door, or you know what I mean? Because there's no way that America and Trump is going to let us keep tariffs on them when we just renegotiated to say no more tariffs.
Yeah. Like my understanding is,
And
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead.
My understanding is even with the 20 billion from tariffs, liberals are still running a larger deficit.
Okay, so here's the two differences. The Liberals right now, of their 4-year projection, is about $230 billion. Pierre Poilievre's is about 150.
Yeah.
But that relies on making 20 billion off of tariffs, and somehow they don't know when, they don't know where, and they don't know who's going to be making this money. There's going to be another 500 billion of taxable revenue coming into the country. They just don't know where. Right? So he's taxing revenues they don't know exist. They're hoping and praying
Well,
that, you know, it's going to be there.
Isn't that
But
fraud?
if
That's-
by cutting pipe, you know what I mean? Because like here's the other thing.
because they're
Well, no, that's what it is. Because he figures
they're gonna
if he
increase
cuts
the
the
GDP.
pipeline bill, right? Their quote unquote no more pipeline bill, which isn't even a no more pipeline bill. It actually streamlines the process so that you could build a pipeline. Because in order for you to get the approvals for the pipeline to begin with, you've got to talk with the natives. You've got to get all your independent studies done for ecological reasons. Because I don't know about you, I really don't want a pipeline running through my fresh water supply that I'm going to drink out of my tap. I kind of don't want that. I think that's
Done
stupid.
properly.
Right?
Gotta be done
I'm
properly
pretty
with the
sure
right people.
farmers don't want pipelines running through their fields because it's the cheapest place to build them.
And basically, Chris, if you're looking at Pierre's platform, the math doesn't math across the board.
But like,
and
It-
he's going to cut services, and he's going to cut medical.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
it's gonna.
He has
it's
no
gonna be
choice.
disastrous.
my issue is like obviously we need social programs and they have to exist.
Yes, he
However,
Mhm.
however, the issue is, like what the liberals have been doing, is they've
Okay.
been sorry.
No, I just,
Yeah, go ahead.
when you're talking about social programs, right? Which programs do you think we need to have?
Like, I'm all for universal health care, education,
Okay.
disability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the other social programs,
So-
however.
All right. All good. Those are big main talking points,
Sure.
right? Do you know who's in charge of those programs?
Well, I know the provincial government is healthcare and
The
education.
provincial governments. So
Yep.
when the federal government gives 300 billion across Canada
I was gonna say
for healthcare, right? They just, here's the money for healthcare.
yeah,
Here's the money for childcare. Here's the money for
but
this, and this, right? This is what they're handing out. They're like, here's your money, here's your money, here's your money for all these things.
the decisions of
Is
the,
it the federal government's fault if a provincial premier doesn't spend that money there? So let's just say Alberta gets $150 billion for healthcare, and they put 30 billion into healthcare, and the rest of it kind of, who knows? I mean, we all know where it goes, but we're not going to draw the lines for everybody because we know where Danny Smith lies with that.
um,
Is that the liberals in federal government's fault that healthcare is now on a downturn in Alberta, which was once the crown jewel of Canada?
no. However, the decisions of the the decisions of the federal government directly impact how much funding they can give.
No, because the federal
But
government
again, if
can't-
I give you money and you don't spend it where I give it to you for, that can't be my fault. That'd be like you blaming me
I know.
for giving you rent money and then you took a vacation and bought a car and then came home from your vacation and got evicted.
This is where I'm going with this. Regardless of how the money is allocated, if the government doesn't have money, they can't give out money to the to any of the provinces.
The government does have money. The
Yeah,
government makes a lot of money.
but the government makes a lot of money, but they also take on a lot of debt. And if we have too much, you need to be able to take on.
We currently do, yes.
Yes.
We have currently done.
Okay,
We've
Chris
come
Brown.
out of the global recession, which every government in the world has
Yeah, but
spent
here.
more money than
And I agree.
anything. But
Okay,
Canada
but
has
here-
spent less than any other government in the world.
And
Okay,
this is
I
why
want to
we
say,
want to vote Carney, because
I
these are
want
the
to say
things to fix
something
it.
after Zen. So the UCP government alone spends more in 1 year than the Liberals have in 5 years total.
Mm-hmm.
That should be alarming to you. Pierre is the biggest welfare bum out there because he's making more than the prime minister right now, and he's still raking in more money. So tell me how you would trust your savings with a failed politician of 20 plus years, a failed paperboy, a failed DJ, a failed meat slicer, a failed pizza builder. Like, you have to look at all the shit that he's doing and realize he's had 2.5 decades in office, and not one of his two bills made it past Supreme Court to get the general governor of Canada approval. He did not get crown accession because they were found to be unconstitutional against the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That's the person they want in office so fucking badly. If he gets in, we're all fucked.
Like the issue is, like I understand COVID, had a big impact, and I agree that during times like COVID and recessions, the government obviously needs to spend more, contribute to those social programs more, stimulate the economy.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you're not in a recession or you're not in COVID, you really have to work to balance that deficit, or else,
But we still are.
we're not. Like if you look to the debt to
No, we still are.
what do you mean?
We still haven't fully recovered from the COVID crisis.
Like
And the reason is the way our economy works is based on trade routes through different areas. We have in Canada, we have a ton of raw materials. Now we, for the last 70-ish years, have relied on trade to the US. So when you look at our output goes 71% to the US and 29% to the rest of the world. We want to try and diversify that now. We're saying, okay, we can't rely on the US anymore. So when the US collapses, because you got to remember, through COVID, the worst country in the world to come out of it was the United States. So our
Yeah.
biggest trading partner, who we send the most amount of stuff to, is the last country to come out of COVID.
Yeah,
Well,
and don't believe American conservatives when they say that they subsidize Canada, because that's a big lie.
their economy recovered better than ours now.
No,
No,
they
it
didn't.
didn't.
No, they
No,
didn't. No, they didn't.
their economy
We had the
is tanking
second
right now.
fastest growing economy in the world. In the G7, the second fastest growing economy coming out of COVID.
And Carney's going to
We spent
open up
less money than anybody, and they
Right.
took 2 years from the time COVID happened to basically get Trump out of office and put Biden in, and then they got to start working on getting out of
Yeah,
COVID.
and now Trump is destroying
So
that
while
economy.
we started in 2020, they started in 2022. They were 2 years late to the party of getting out.
Yeah, and we got world recognition for Trudeau's handling of the pandemic. Trump got laughed at when he was handling the pandemic. He was
Well, yeah.
he was asking people to take ivermectin. If you know what it is, you know what it is.
I mean, if you look at GDP growth per capita since the
No,
pandemic,
oh my God, we don't do per
No.
capita.
I've had this argument too much this week.
If you want to go GDP growth per capita,
So
which is fine,
what's a better measure?
you also have to look at what their debt per capita is. and the American debt per capita is like what 90 times higher than Canadian.
It's
Yes.
not a good comparison because what's it called? Something privilege. They have they're able to exuberant privilege. That's what it's called. Because America is the international currency. Like when we take on more interest, our interest rates go up because we're higher. We have a higher likelihood of defaulting on our debt. But
But we
America is
don't.
able to
We
take more
actually
debt.
have a AAA credit score.
I know, but America, like
America doesn't even have a AAA credit
I
score.
know, but because U.S. is the international currency, they're able to take
They,
on more debt. 100%.
but they don't.
100%.
No, they can't. That's just it. Do
They
you
can.
realize that's
100%.
why that's why Trump actually called off all of the tariffs on just about every single country other than that baseline 10%, because they realized, oh shit, we can't sell bonds because
Um,
nobody is buying US bonds. That's how a government makes money. When they sell stuff like Canada, we sold bonds. We sold Canadian bonds. In order to pay for things, we have to pay that back in US currency,
I know, but
right?
they have a
But here's the thing. They couldn't sell anything. Nobody, like, literally here's how it works. If the stock market starts crashing, right? Like it starts going down, you're going into a recession. The first thing most people do that are losing money in the stocks, they reinvest into the bonds of the country,
but the
because the
bonds.
country is a country could never go bankrupt. It is a country will never be able to go bankrupt. It
Well,
is impossible for a country to go bankrupt.
well, they'll print more. They'll just print more money before
But
that.
it's not printing more money, but a country cannot go bankrupt
Um,
because you could sell bonds. You could do different things. You will always have taxes to come in with income. So you've always got, whereas like you as an individual, they say you can't take any more credit. You can't have any more credit because you'll never be able to pay anything
but
off.
if no one
Country
like,
could pay this off all the time.
if you have too much debt, no one's gonna buy bonds, no matter how much interest they get on the bonds.
But they do buy bonds and they will buy your bonds.
But if you
That's
have,
literally how certain countries have now. Like if you want to look at one, the Democratic of Congo, the Republic of Congo, sorry, they've grown their GDP, their actual GDP has grown almost 700% because people are starting to invest in them.
yeah,
They've
like
changed regimes. They've made changes that they are now being seen as a safe investment for people to buy. So as long as you are credited as a safe investment, not meaning you can't take on more debt or you can't sell anything. It's more, will your economy actually look like we have growth opportunity here? Canada has the growth opportunity and will always have it because Canada has the one thing everybody in the world needs, which is raw materials. We have the most lumber in the world. To build anything, Canada has it. We have the most fresh water. We have the third largest oil supply. We have the largest supply of potash in the world. That means everybody that wants to grow crops pretty much needs to buy from Canada.
even before COVID though, like we were not growing our GDP comparatively to our debt, like in relation to our debt. We like it was flat.
No, we've always actually had an upward tick. It depends on which.
We
Okay,
haven't.
so there's three different types. Here's where you got to watch, because there's three different types of GDP.
Yeah, real
They have
GDP is nominal.
GDP, real GDP, actual GDP,
Nominal GDP.
and then another one. And the one that conservatives love to point out is the one that nobody in the world cares about. Like any economist looks at that and they, yeah, whatever, because it's outdated. It doesn't take in a lot of different factors to create GDP. So because it's so outdated, nobody cares. Yeah, it looks like, oh, it's dead. That's because it's outdated.
Yeah, real
It
real GDP is
revolves.
the best
That
measure,
one
right?
literally revolves around the time when tariffs were the only way for a government to make money.
Hello? Sorry.
Yep.
So what do you think is the best measure, real GDP? Because I can show you the charts. Like you can see.
It depends on which way you're looking at it. I'm not an economist, but they look at different things.
That's
So
why we need Mark Carney.
No, I'm not even going that way. I'm just saying, like, when you want to talk GDP, you literally have to look at what economists are saying about each country. Because if you look at it, like, I'll give you one. They like to say we're at a dead growth over the last 5 years, 10 years, whatever, right? We are 2 points behind Germany on every GDP scale that they want to point out is bad for Canada, when Germany has the third largest economy in the world.
Okay.
So if we're only 2 points behind them,
Yeah, but if
and they're
you
the third largest economy in the world,
yeah, but
we
like
can't be that bad.
the bigger the economy is, the more capacity it has to take on debt.
But they also have the people,
So for per capita,
but we
though.
have the resources. They don't have the natural resources that we have.
Right, but our population also is only 39 million, right? So when we're talking debt
Exactly.
rate,
Well, 40. We're just under 41.
41.2.
It's a ratio to GDP. It's not.
Yeah, no. But
That's good.
when
oh, buddy.
but
Like, not you,
here's the
but
thing,
especially
when they
population
talk
growth.
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Pixel.
When
Come
talking
on.
about that ratio, he's talking about what we import comparably to what they import. We would never be able to import as much as they do because our population is 39
yes.
million.
That's not
compared
what
to
this is about,
400.
though.
No, but that.
Yes, it
So
is. So when you're talking about bonds and you're talking about investment with the stock market, you have to look at bottom line population as well. Go ahead, Kraken. You're doing a good job of explaining that.
no. What I'm saying though is with the GDP, the one thing that we don't take into account that you don't see with the numbers that you're looking at is we have temporary foreign workers that pay taxes to this country. We have students, international students that get to work in our country. They pay taxes. That's all revenue that comes in. We have migrant workers, same as the US, that are undocumented, that pay taxes. That does not show up on GDP reports. So we actually gain more off, and the US is the same way. They gain so much more by having these people in the country, and trying to take them out kills economies. Because
Regard-
you got a
I'm gonna-
lot of areas that
Regardless.
are
Then I'm gonna drop down. I'm gonna take a quick nap, and then I will be back.
Alrighty. Thanks for coming up.
Regardless, I mean, the more debt you have, the higher your interest rates are.
it's not yes, but it's not the same. Country's debt is not the same as your personal debt.
I know that. How
Okay.
like but you can see, like, look at what happened with Greece. Like, you can see, like, there are historical examples of debt crippling countries. Like, it's not just
But it's not just debt, it's what they were doing while they were creating this debt.
Exactly, and Canada would never be in that
So-
situation.
So like Greece, for example, was one country that they had a complete change in geopolitical styles. And it really, like, another country for this, if you want to look at it, is the UK. They went a similar route decades later.
You can't take trade away, like, you can't block trade and be protectionist and expect your GDP to grow. So when everybody's
Exactly.
screaming, "Oh, WEF, blah, blah. If we did, people have been trading since the very beginning of time, jumping on boats, riding donkeys. World trade has been going on since the beginning of man. So being a protectionist isn't helping our country grow in any way, shape, or form.
Here, is it okay if I just pull something up real quick? Check something.
Yeah, go ahead.
How old are you, Chris? Like maybe
He's
20?
21.
Yeah, I was
He's
gonna say
21.
he's never lived through the 80s, or when interest rates were
No.
at 11% for a mortgage.
Oh yeah, 18%. I remember those days. I was only like 8, but I remember them.
I'm 55, but I remember my parents lost a house. My dad lost his job. I've been through it. So when all these incels are screaming and crying, and I don't have a house, and I don't have a wife making me sandwiches, makes me want to just give them a shot right to the.
Yeah, I never experienced Harper.
Harper was bad. Mulrooney was worse.
Yes.
No, Harper was worse.
Harper was worse.
Harper was worse.
Harper was worse.
Harper was definitely worse.
Mulrooney started, the ball rolling, right? And then he got Harper, and that free traded us to death with China, and selling the wheat board and anything else that you could come up with that he could underhandedly do. But hey, let's vote him in again.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Prairie Princess said, Chris is listening, and he's doing a very good job of being up in a box here. So I'm actually very thankful compared to what we had before you. So
debt to real GDP. And if you look at I think real GDP is probably the best measure of GDP. We're growing, we had a huge spike during COVID, and we're leveling off. And my point is, you should have spikes during COVID. However, instead of leveling off, you need to return to those levels you were at, so your interest rates go down. And eventually, if your debt to real GDP keeps growing, people keep giving you debt, and you can afford to go through recessions and have people will still give you money. So when things like that happen, your economy can survive.
Our economy is not in bad shape in anything, right? So when you're talking about Canada being in bad shape and it's not broken. I mean, there's some pockets of areas that might be struggling a little harder than others. Rural Canada, especially because of lack of employment. But in enhancing that's community standing strong municipally, right? So we have to look at different levels of jurisdiction as well when you look at the overall GDP, because every region's GDP and unemployment levels are overall then basically average, right? So a certain pocket of, say, Northern Ontario might have a lower rate of growth because of unemployment, but where, say, you're in Calgary right now or in Alberta somewhere, where you have higher levels of growth and higher employment, right? And then they average that out across for Stats Canada. And again, because of population in each province, difference on our GDP. He was doing a great job at explaining it, because I'm not.
He was doing a really good job.
He was, but again, I appreciate you listening. But again, I grew up in the 80s when mortgage rates went up to 13%. Our mortgage rates right now are probably the lowest they've been in 3 decades. It's the fact that the housing prices are so bloody high because our municipalities have had to raise them to keep up the tax rate. I live in a town with 20,000 population. We have the highest property taxes in Canada.
Yeah, I
And
remember
that's
you
a
talking
small
about
town,
that.
right? Very small town. So, we're paying more property tax than somebody with a $500,000 house in Calgary. And I live in an old shack that was my grandparents', and I'm paying more than somebody in a $500,000 house in Calgary.
And I know this is just kind of going back to, you saying the economy doing well and it doing well. When you hear, and this is in some sense anecdotal, but when you hear about the economy doing poorly, and then, I go to one of the top universities in the country, I live with 7 people, and none of us can find jobs. When it's something like that, how can you say, I'm experiencing it? How can you say the economy is doing well when, university educated people at one of the top, we're all, at one of the top universities in the country, and we can't find, like, we're trying our very best. We're trying so hard, and we can't find work after school. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I understand, and to my knowledge, it's always been the same, where university gives you knowledge and college gets you the job, right? So it's very difficult.
This isn't new, right?
for-
This isn't a new phenomenon. We've been talking about
No.
the same issues
Yeah.
for over 20 years.
Yeah.
I'm a university graduate too, right? I couldn't find a job in my faculty. I'm also a hairdresser by trade. But again, it's not changed. This has been our stigma and our stagnation in Canada for 30 years because we've moved all our jobs away. We gave away our softwood lumber industry. We sold everything to China. We gave the United States discounts on our oil just because they could take it, because we slid ourselves back in the 80s by not applying ourselves to get the pipelines through that they actually, Senior Trudeau wanted to get through, because Alberta was too busy being greedy still, right? And we got to keep that in mind. Alberta has been greedy since the oil boom to begin with, and then they've lied and said that they've been supporting the whole country for decades, and that's not the case, right? So again, you can blame that on a conservative government for 80 years, brainwashing their population to think that they've been, literally holding up the whole country, which is not a fact. Anyway, we can go back to, stuff that, I don't know, you'd have to go back into the history books and read about, because there's way too much for me to get into.
Yeah,
But
and like,
we should have pipelines running from east to west. That should have happened in the 80s. We shouldn't be in the situation where we're running our oil straight down to the States and giving them a 15% discount. Never mind the added tariffs that are added to them now.
Right.
But we sold ourselves short decades ago. And Harper sold us to China for 35 years. Most of our oil companies are owned by Chinese corporates. How I know this? My husband works in oil. Very few of our oil companies are actually Canadian owned. Our potash was sold to the Japanese. McCain's is also owned partially by the Japanese. We've had so much investment from other countries for decades to hold us up, to keep us going, because that's what happens with world trade. So we need the investment. We need the other countries to come in. We need our oil to be at zero emissions, where they're almost there, because when the carbon emissions for oil is at zero, they can produce more, which is what's happening. And it wasn't the government that said that or did that. It was the oil companies themselves.
and what do you think about Pierre's, commitment to protecting our northern oil, the trillions of dollars?
They should be more worried about protecting First Nations rights, because they shouldn't be 112 down in their policies and declarations. Our partners and relationship with First Nations should be top priority for every single one of us, because if we don't work partnership with them, we are never going to be prosperous. And if Canadians don't see that, they're blind. We are living on treaties. We live on treaties and territories. The consultation should be first and foremost in everybody's mind. And that will get us prosperous, but we have to walk a partnership relationship with our First Nations people. And Pierre has no policy for that. And on that note, if you don't believe me, you can Google conservative policies and declarations and scroll down to under 11 at 112 after they want to take trans women out of sports. That's what they think of our First Nations people. And and I'm not First Nations, but that should be our first and top priority. End of story.
Yeah, and I don't know enough about. That's something I need to become more educated on.
Well,
But
you should. And there's a 12-week free course from the University of Alberta that I implore every Canadian to take. And it's actually taught by First Nations people. And every Canadian should take it, because if you had any understanding of that, then you would understand why consultation is so important. They were here to steward our water. If it wasn't for them stopping pipelines in certain areas, our fresh water we wouldn't have. Same with the mines and stuff going into the Rocky Mountains, where it's going to put selenium into our water in southern British Columbia already, and they want to build another one on the Alberta side so they can pollute all the water that goes into the farmland and into Lethbridge and everywhere else in southern Alberta. Greed is not good. We have to work hand in hand.
I agree. Yeah.
I know. I'm actually a beaver. I'm a beaver too, and it looks like our host is taking a bit of a break, so I'll just kind of carry on. But,
Thank you.
no worries, honey. But again, like I said, we're just here to educate as kindly as we possibly can. I'm sorry if I came across kind of as an asshole to begin with, but I'm old and I got kids as old as you, so I just would like you to understand that Not everything's as black and white as it looks in a book, and all these graphs and all these, beautiful things that they like showing us all the time doesn't necessarily mean that it's right or true because you read it on the internet. And speaking to people in your community is the best way to find out what's real and what's not, right?
Yeah.
So thanks for being here, and thanks for coming up and asking questions.
And like, you know, maybe I'm wrong, and or
There's never any
not,
wrong
not,
and right.
not
It's a,
yeah, not wrong. Sorry, I
I mean,
worded
and you're
that.
allowed, and everybody perceives things differently, right? And not your opinion and my opinion might be totally different from each other, but there's not a lot of difference when it comes to people, right? And it's not a matter of right and left; it's a matter of what's right and wrong, for us, anyways. It's about morals and values. So, and we see things like for like a lot of people right now, economics is a really thing. I understand how you feel with. I've got a son that's got the same kind of an opinion. Can't find a job, blames it on people being brought into Canada, blah blah blah, and that's not an actual fact.
And I don't blame it on people
No.
from Canada.
That's good. I'm glad, but my unfortunately my son does. It's kind of ridiculous, right? And I have a hard time dealing with him because of the fact that he is so slanted and angry. And I think the anger takes over and makes us not see things so clearly sometimes.
And I agree, and I think it's like, I think you're gonna find economists who don't believe in debt and economists who do believe in debt, and at the end of the day, I would say kind of the fiscally conservative movement is really, really harmed by kind of that being attached to the far right.
It's too, like we have to ask, like, do you have a credit card? Do you have a mortgage? Do you have a car payment? Like, none of us have anything that's not owned by the bank if we're making payments on it, to be fair, right?
There's good debt and there's bad debt, right? Like,
Exactly. And a lot of us need, like, a lot of things too. People look at a house list and go, oh my God, they don't have a credit rating. Right now, if you don't have a credit rating, you can't even find a place to live. So unfortunately, everything in our economy right now is based around credit rating. And I think that's wrong too. And corporations who have bought up these buildings and have to show profit because they're on the stock market. So the only way they're going to show profit is if they up your rent and throw people out, do renovations and up the rent again. It's a cycle of greed from corporate capitalism, unfortunately.
yeah, and I mean the last guy who came on knew more about housing than I do. But at the same time, I mean,
Housing can go back to 5 years of No Stats Canada. So that was showing that the feds didn't have to give any money to the provinces for population growth, which means that the municipalities weren't getting any money for population growth. 5 years, we have a huge gap in population growth. That's why realtors have upped everybody's property valuations to raise property taxes, so the municipalities keep your arenas and your public libraries and your roads and all the things, and paying their workers and maintenance and snow removal, because the federal government for 5 years prior to with Harper, the last 5 years, shut down Stats Canada and refused to give the provinces the money that they needed.
sorry.
Okay, Tina, go on.
Just a little FYI, I found out today that part of Pierre Poilievre's housing plan, it was created by the owner of Mattamy Homes.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, he's not getting that stuff. That's the thing. He's not able to put those things together. We have to be very careful with, well, not even just the whole plan, but stuff like that. Like, he's so out of his element
Yeah.
when it comes to some of these things. I mean,
Where did you
and
hear that?
also,
Chris,
one of the other things I wanted to just say, what brought me up, is that I've been thinking about this recently, like in the last couple of days, is that I don't really hear from Pierre a creation of jobs or a job plan or protecting it. I hear these slogans, but I don't hear how you're going to keep people with their jobs, because it doesn't matter if you cut taxes or you make affordable homes. You're not going to be able to afford anything, or that won't make a difference if you don't have employment. He just says he's going to cut 100,000 jobs in civil servants. I mean, most of downtown Ottawa are all government buildings. They're all buildings, whether it's CRA, whether it's IRCC for immigration, whatever branch of the government.
There's not
A
enough
lot of
employees. There's not enough
uh,
employees in the ministry as it is. And Harper,
I just wanted to give Chris an FYI. I was sitting in the comments while you were talking about, while Pixie, you were trying to educate him on Indigenous rights, land rights. Pay attention to the Beaver Lake court case.
Sure. Yeah, I'll look into it. For sure.
Yeah, because it's going to affect the oil field within the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and I know Harper had a lot of issues with Indigenous land.
The conservatives in general do. They have a big problem with consultation because it means that Indigenous get the consent.
Yeah, and something. Obviously, the conservative.
And you have to remember this election is a little different from any other election we've ever had because of Trump.
In what sense?
In the sense of, well, not only tariffs, but the fact that there is this power struggle going on. If you haven't noticed too, with the election here, it feels almost as if some of the people running are acting like this is high school. There's a lot of this tit for tat and a lot of stuff that like it's showmanship, right? Like it.
I think they've been pretty respectful, even after the debate. Carney and
has MPs running
President,
that
yeah,
are residential school deniers. Do you realize that Aaron Gunn is an MP on Vancouver Island and he's a residential school denier? And you know what Poilievre did? He didn't even let his EDAs actually do a general election. He appointed and told them they couldn't. You know how many EDA chairs have voted Liberal? Go and check that one out. It's free on Google.
And yeah, again, I'm not as educated as I should be on Indigenous issues and can't really comment on it just because I haven't done the research to this point.
Got nothing to do with Indigenous. This got everything to do with somebody denying that residential schools actually existed. And if you're a residential school denier, you really do need to open a book.
Yeah, obviously I believe residential schools happened.
This
Yeah.
guy's actually campaigning on misinformation about First Nations people. He's lying, and Poilievre has done absolutely nothing. He's just letting him go, and never mind the fact that their democracy within their party not allowing their EDAs, which is their electoral district association, which every riding has, allow them to run an election and pick their own candidate. They parachuted the candidates they chose to go in there. They didn't even follow democracy in their own party.
So I just have a question. You know, we've been talking, and you've said, you know, for the last 20 years, it's been hard to get a job. Obviously, housing prices are bad, grocery prices are bad, but the economy is good. So if these are all measures, if these measures are all bad and the economy is good, what makes the economy good right now, would you say?
The fact that lots of us are still working. COVID
And
had a
people
really
are spending
hard-
money.
Yeah, COVID had a huge people just tend to breeze over COVID, and you can't. We had one of the best world responses to COVID, right? We had one of the best,
In
and
terms of what?
you can't just say, "Oh, we got through it." That was a tremendous. Think about CERB and giving people money and supporting them, and everybody was supporting Trudeau while he was doing that.
But the issue
Right.
the issue is like COVID built up our deficit. You know, if we keep doing that, we're not going to be able to take on more debt. If something like
No,
COVID,
what would have
No, it didn't.
what,
No, it
what would
didn't.
have been
COVID
the
money came from First Nations Trust. You didn't pay a dime of it back, and nobody paid a dime of it back, and that came from First Nations Trust. The government owes the First Nations trillions of dollars because every slush fund that you've gotten comes from that. So
But
no, we didn't build a huge deficit because of the pandemic. We took from the First Nations Trust.
and without taking
Right, starting right from the CP rail was built with Indigenous monies.
But I want to ask Chris, what would have been the alternative to a COVID response? Like, what would have been the alternative? Because
Right.
Down in the
Obviously,
United States, and they lost twice as many people per capita that we did. So
obvious.
if lives aren't worth as much as the money, then sure.
I didn't think the COVID response was that bad, and obviously,
It
government
was in the United States compared to Canada. You can do the numbers. I've looked it up.
which
Research shows
under
that
what
in
metric?
Canada, United States lost a lot more people than Canada did.
Like lost people in terms of deaths.
Yes, from COVID
Yeah.
because they put their measures down when Trump took over.
And I'm not saying, when something like COVID happens, you don't need to kind of like obviously the government needs to spend money when something like COVID happens and stimulate
What
the
would have
economy.
happened if we didn't react at all?
However, you also need to, coming out of a recession, start to spend less and reduce that deficit. So if another COVID happens, you can stimulate the economy again. You can't stimulate the economy and then not reduce that deficit after.
Are you
because
suggesting that we
you just
should have
build
spent
the
less
debt
money
and
on
build the debt
COVID and
and
let
build the
more
debt.
people die?
No, but we
Well,
we should
it's one or the
spend
other.
we should spend the money on COVID and then reduce the deficit after. So we spend right now on interest on our debt as much.
Taxation during COVID was stagnant as well because nobody was working and generating income tax
I
either,
know.
right? So we had to have a reboot, which we did. We bounced back better than any other country in the G7. Canada did a great job, and like I said, Trudeau, you might not like him or you might like him or not, but he was a 43-year-old man that stood up for 39 million people and got us through a world pandemic, and we all fed, ate. He took care of us, and that's the end of that one. And yeah, we're going to have some bounces along the way, but
It's going to
again,
take time to recover from that. It's not going to be instant.
And again, I'm not saying
Trudeau
that's
did
bad.
not cost it.
You need to start to reduce the deficit. We spend as much right now on interest as our debt as we spend on education a year as a country.
we should
And do you
spend 3
think
times as much as we do on education. We should have higher debt so we can make sure that everybody is getting what they need. What is so hard for you to understand? Are you okay? So you need a job, right? You're not willing to listen to any advice from us to maybe get you a job. Maybe the fact that your arrogance is not getting you a job because you think that you're living off of whatever and that somebody owes you something. So here's the
No,
thing:
I'm
which
saying, I'm saying the opposite.
what experience do you have? What do you need for us to help you get a job to make you feel better?
Again,
Where are you? Where can
you,
we help you get a job? Would you
if
work
you
at Tim Hortons? Would you work at McDonald's? Would you take one of these jobs?
if you take on too much debt, nobody's gonna give you debt anymore because you have a high risk of
Because you don't
defaulting.
have any debt because you don't have a job. So how can you have any debt if you have no job?
It's not my debt; it's the country's debt.
No, we're not talking about it. We're talking about your debt. So right now you're talking about country debt that's got nothing to do with you and your life right now responsibly. What does it have to do with you? What does it do to affect your life right now personally, the debt of our country?
Because
Does it harm you? Does it hurt you? Are you paying it? Is it coming out of your pocket? Is it your debt?
the
So you're
the
losing sleep over something that has nothing to do with you personally. It's never going to come out of your pocket personally. You don't owe $13 trillion personally, right? So get over that part of it, Chris. Now, what do you need from us to help you get a job
if
so
we
that you
spend
feel better?
again, we spend as much on the interest as we do on
That's
education.
irrelevant. Who cares?
It is irrelevant. We could
No, it
spend
is. It's
double
irrelevant.
what we
It's
spend on
irrelevant.
education
It's
if we cut
irrelevant.
down
We
the
should spend
debt.
more. Education should be free all the way up to university. We should give it away so that we have a higher educated population. So we
You
don't have
don't
to
get
teach.
anything for interest.
Who cares? You get an
Nothing
interest-free
back.
student loan now.
Again, we
You get an interest-free student loan, so you can go to school to get a higher education, so you can get a higher paying job. Maybe we should get you back to school. Maybe be a plumber. Maybe you could be, a drywaller. Because we're gonna have lots of jobs in construction. That would be something. Would you take that job?
it's
Because that's
not.
something you could do, right? Are you not willing to take that job?
Curious. I don't mean to cut in, but I'm curious. How do you suggest the debt should be paid down then?
That's what I was going to ask.
You need to cut spending. That's just the only way you can do it.
Cut spending. So that's a big, broad statement. Where are we cutting spending?
Um, Everywhere. You have to cut spending everywhere.
So everywhere. Where do you plan on cutting it? We have
Services,
What
healthcare.
percentage for what then?
Sorry?
Be
The reason-
specific.
The reason you cut spending is because when you go into a recession, you need more stimulation into the economy. You need the government to be able to spend more. And if
We know that. We want to know how.
Can I just bring up one little
Government
point
doesn't have
here?
unlimited money.
Is that the government, the federal government, had a response to COVID, but the provincial government, when we were trying to bounce back, didn't match or contribute. I don't feel in Ontario where I live, like nursing, healthcare, people weren't having. You're asking for the jobs and the giving more to bounce back. But that's where I feel like the federal government contributed and helped people. But when it was time to rebuild, like in our province, the premier didn't live up to his expectations. He's working against education and working against supporting people in jobs and education, taking away ECE jobs, making nurses do less, trying to privatize healthcare. You can't build back up the economy when the province is working against you. They have a responsibility. Actually, the premiers took back housing in the late 80s. It used to be all federally. So first of all, a lot of people forget that. The federal government contributes to housing and they're doing as much as they can. But in my province, my premier, Doug Ford, is working against us. He's giving contracts to big billionaires to build condos and do rentals. That's where you can't hold the prime minister accountable, any prime minister, for all of your housing. They took back the housing responsibility back in the late 80s. Each premier is responsible for housing.
In my
and
opinion,
growth.
it's not going great that way.
But it's not about that. It's saying going forward, we need to balance the deficit, regardless.
But you can't balance the deficit if you have each province not matching and doing what they need to do. Like the province is responsible for so many things. And we can't have jobs and economy and growth if your province isn't going to do it. Eventually, the federal government, this is what you're talking about. We run at a deficit, we don't have money, and you keep looking to them. But I feel like, is Danielle Smith working for the province and helping people?
Not in my opinion.
Where does the line get drawn? Why are you holding the federal government responsible for absolutely everything when the province has a responsibility, where the province is responsible for education all the way up? All the money that's in each province, Seneca College, Centennial College, all those colleges and universities are by the Ministry of Education in your province.
And when you pay
Run
income
that.
tax,
And it's called OSAP for Ontario Student Assistance Program. It's not the federal assistance program. And it's Doug Ford who changed the rules of OSAP.
And then built a spa for the rich people.
Exactly. When we have homelessness as a problem and people are dying, there's a company here that wants to give those one little unilateral little trailers to get the homeless. Take Ontario Place and make that a place. Build green space and put those on there and give them a chance to build a place for them to live. But no, he sold it to a Scandinavian company and having a spa. And you know why? Because his contractor buddies get the contract for the parking garage. They get the contracts for all the buildings. Everything like that is for his buddies. He went trader and sold the green belt to his rich buddies, to where we held his feet to the fire and he still didn't. People have a short memory in this province. I don't, but people do.
No one is saying there's not issues with provincial government. Obviously there is.
But it works hand in hand. That's what I'm trying to say. It works hand in hand. It works hand in hand.
Yeah, and obviously there's issues with provincial government, but that doesn't negate all the issues that the federal
Are you
government
from Alberta, Chris?
originally.
The thing is if I have a response to COVID federally and I do my part, don't you think, how can you hold me accountable when the province doesn't match that? Like so many nurses, and that there's not enough nurses in Ontario. You go to the hospital and there's no need for it.
Danielle Smith, who took the money from COVID, balanced the Alberta budget with it and didn't use it. What about the money that she's gotten from orphan wells that she's saying she needs to make a whole new energy source and a whole new industry for orphan wells. What about the MJ taxation that every province collects? 75% of that taxation for the last 6 years has been collected by the provinces. And then it's supposed to go to the municipalities. Where's that money? Why don't you ask your premiers that?
Obviously, I never said there wasn't issues at the provincial level. My issue with the governments at the federal level.
Well, the thing of it is 90% of the things you have issues with are not federal jurisdiction. That's what
But
you're not getting. They're pure. You pay provincial income tax too. Your province has more jurisdiction over you for everything than the federal government. The federal government sets policy, sends money to the provinces for them to then trickle down to the municipalities, that trickles down to the society or the communities, right? So the federal government regulates and sends money, and that's about it.
But my issue with the federal government is the deficit, which is something they do directly control.
You know what? No, they
Get
don't.
back around to the same thing. But again,
deficit
with
has
being
nothing to do
specific,
with
where
it.
should we make these cuts, Chris?
Yeah, where should we make them?
Pick one place.
Let's look at this. Pierre
To
Poilievre
start.
is in the riding of Carleton, and I imagine quite a few people in Carleton on the outskirts of Ottawa work at
91
civil
candidates. There was 91 candidates in that writing. 91 candidates. I'll say
Work
that again.
at-
91.
Yeah, work as civil servants, and yet he wants to cut 100,000 jobs. It doesn't matter to me if you make housing affordable. Nobody's talking about that. I didn't hear how he's going to protect auto workers. How are you going to protect jobs? How are you going to deal with the deficit if you want to cut jobs and you want to do things like that and not put that? That's what we have to do. We have to have people making money so they can afford a home.
I mean, I think most of his plans around jobs is expediting the oil and pipeline process.
Can't expedite oil because oil
You
is
know where
already
he's going to make jobs? He's going to build prisons and then put all of the homeless in the prisons.
private prisons. That was
The
Harper's
thing is, this,
mandatory.
I don't
minimum.
like either.
Never had that.
I don't like either party's platform on crime.
on what?
Crime.
Oh, crime. Well, the thing is that for me, I feel that you're really out of your element, Pierre. And I think Mark Carney knows that. That's left to people who know the law, who the police, who know, that type of thing. We have to start at grassroots level. We don't start right at the top where some guy got elected as a politician who says that he can override the Supreme Court of Canada and the rights and human rights. I mean, the thing is we have to pay attention to people who went to school for that. Pierre didn't go to school for that, so he's not equipped to deal with the practice of changing law or doing that type of thing. And furthermore,
the notwithstanding clause, especially when it comes to Charter 7 with the Charter rights, that's everybody's freedom of expression, speech, religion, freedom.
It costs.
And you keep going in and you delve deeper into Charter 7. That's number 7, okay? That's the one he wants to put. So mandatory minimum jail sentencing. 3 strikes and you're out. That sounds like Trump, hey? So even if you've got like 3 little petty, theft charges, you're going to be in jail for the rest of your life. That sounds like you want to afford it. You know how much an inmate costs per year for every Canadian taxpayer? $1 million. And I know this for a fact. My brother's a guard. And I know exactly what they go through and exactly how much money is clawed back. That's also a provincial jurisdiction as well, because there's 2 separate different levels of the system. You have federal and you have provincial. Provincial is covered by the provincial government in the province that you live in, which is 2 years less a day, and anything over 2 years is federal. And there's so many, federal penitentiaries around the country. So again, you don't know anything about crime.
But the thing is how are we going to recoup the money for all these criminals that he just wants to sack away? There's another thing. Like, nobody's talking about that when he's like, yeah, let's catch. First of all, Paul Bernardo is never being released and running around any province anywhere in Canada. Let's get that straight. Okay? So no hard criminal is getting released.
I mean, again, I already kind of stated I don't like the conservative
Right.
platform.
But I'm talking about when you're talking about money, nobody talks about that. We'll be the taxpayers that are footing the bills. Money has to come from somewhere. No one asked them that.
I know that. On the same token, though, I don't think liberal governments have handled crime well, and
But But really, Chris, that's not the federal government's job to do crime.
Even like,
We have several layers and
just let me
levels.
finish this quick thought.
Yeah.
Even if you look at like the decriminalization of drugs, like the
I'm going to come right in with that one because I actually am a cannabis activist, and we have lowered crime rates for cannabis possession by 98%. That frees up the police to actually go after and take care of the other crimes that are going on because drug addiction is not a crime.
and again, I really like how Europe has done it because they have the infrastructure in place to like the mental health resources and the other resources to handle the to handle drugs in general, and they have a lot less drug problems. But how
Down everything.
how DC's done it in certain states in the US, it's just it's you can't walk down certain streets in Vancouver without like you,
Okay, but then is that the federal government or is that the local government? And do we have to treat it at the crux of the problem where we need more mental health put in place? And we need, Doug Ford, we want to take away safe injection sites. We want to do those things. Does it start there or do we just go up high to the
I
federal
agree.
government?
No government is doing that except maybe the
What?
NDP.
Yes, they are. The Alberta government cut services to safe injection sites in Lethbridge, Alberta, which has caused deaths.
Yep.
Alberta is going to put people in jail, forced treatment in jail for people with addiction and homelessness. Danielle Smith has already passed that legislation.
Mhm.
Do you not think like how BC handled it was not the proper way?
They handled it very well. The problem was that people were using in public, and they should have stated that people shouldn't be able to use in public. But they're also finding now with the new coroner's report that just came out that more people are actually dying at home that are functioning addicts than actually on the streets. So that's because people actually use at home because nice people use drugs too, buddy.
And I think overall,
I have nothing against drugs. Like
but
again,
isn't there a statistic that crime is actually down?
Yes, it is actually down. The only crimes that are actually escalating are domestic, DV, and SA against women.
Sorry,
And I
what?
think in Ontario, it's carjacking is our worst. But we're as far as other crime, I think it's down. I think actually,
SA and DV are the two that are up. Everything else is down. Yes, you're right.
and
Yeah, and that's up. And then they're saying that because of the violence that people are seeing at home, it's spilling onto the streets into our youth. And why the youth are acting out so much on our streets is because they're seeing too much of it at home.
Anyways, I have a 30-hour drive back to Alberta tomorrow, so I'm gonna get going. But
oh boo, that doesn't sound like fun at all.
no,
Well, I do commend you for coming up in the box, Chris. You did have a discussion, which is a lot more than what most
Yeah.
conservatives do around here. So,
1,000% agree.
yeah.
Bravo.
yeah.
Thank you guys for having
Thank
me,
you.
being civil, and yeah,
Have you voted already?
yeah, I did.
Oh, I don't want to ask. I'm not gonna, it's not my right to ask. I think I can put it together.
Yeah. Anyways, have a good rest of your night, guys. Bye now.
Yeah,
Bye.
you too. Bye-bye.
Actually, I'm going to go on off because I am working the election tomorrow morning at 7:30. And
Well,
it's
thank you for doing
it's
that.
a long day, a very long day. After it closes at 9:30, we won't be done till 10:30, minimum 11 o'clock. So 7:30, and you only get 15-minute breaks every 4 hours. You cannot leave.
Ugh.
I know,
Okay. Yeah, that sucks.
but
But I appreciate you doing it.
oh, I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to be part of the process. And like I said, remember, there's no cheating or pencil erasing, or that's all fake. That's all conservative propaganda. That's all
Yeah.
fake. That's all Mario fake.
I heard a rumor that, and it is a rumor, absolutely, that some people were suggesting poking holes in the ballots, like punching a hole in it to prove that it's theirs if it ever gets read again, kind of thing. But if you do that, you're
Ballots rejected.
Yeah.
exactly. So that would
Ballots
be really,
rejected.
really not smart.
I'd like to remember that remind people out there, if there's anyone listening, that in my training, they do this manually so that people can't say it was scan cards or the computers were rigged or people, it was done glitch or whatever.
Yeah.
It's very, very, we all had to declare a solemn declaration. Elections Canada is very strict. In fact, if you don't show up at 7:30, if you're 5 minutes late, they call into the supervisor and send somebody else. You can't wear any colored clothing. I mean, it's all done, and there's 2 people at each table, and there's somebody watching them, and even the representatives can come in and watch them for each candidate.
I got scrutineers like you that are going to come in and watch because I'm a scrutineer tomorrow. I can't wait. It's going to be so exciting.
I have my friends doing that scrutineering.
And it all has to balance, and you're sending in your sheets. They're in sealed envelopes. I mean, you're reporting to the reporting office, right? And that's why those candidate representatives are there, because they want to hear that Joe Blow, their candidate, is the number one guy. He got 500 votes. Right? That's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for you to phone it in and say what it is from this polling station and then take the stuff over.
Well, and strong woman, I know and I completely believe you, but be prepared for tomorrow night because assuming Carney wins, they will automatically cry foul.
I know they will, but
and I don't know if I'm saying I don't know that PP will, although he's going to imply it strongly if he doesn't actually say it.
Right.
And
his riding is going to be so interesting because it's going to be interesting.
I have a picture of the ballot. One of my friends actually lives in his riding, and there really is 91.
91. Yeah, I heard that. I heard that before. Yeah, that was a point to do election reform. That's why they did it, and they did it there because they wanted to prove that we should have election reform.
Well, that proves to me I wouldn't want election reform.
Well, I know. But the thing is that it's going to be interesting because it's close. And I think a lot of people...
You have over 100 registered parties in Canada. Like, there are 100 registered parties in Canada. If every one of those parties could get a candidate with, whatever amount of signatures that are needed, they could they could put somebody in. Because there are over 100 registered parties in Canada.
That's crazy, eh?
Yep.
Well, ladies, it's been a blast. I don't know, maybe when I get home I might be too exhausted to even come on the Beaver Network, but we'll see. It's been lovely this whole time, and we will still continue on. You two have been a bright light, and I've always enjoyed meeting you. My name is Kate, by the way. Everyone calls me Strong Woman, but I do have a real first name, and it's Kate. So.
I'm Tamara. Nice to meet you, Kate.
Okay, ladies, have a good one. Take care. Thank you. Have a great night tomorrow. Go
you too.
And keep calm and carny on. That's what we say. Bye-bye.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you for coming up.
Now I have to know how to get out of here. Disconnect. I got it.
She's funny. I cannot get my picture to move over any further, and I don't know why.
I would tell you how, but I never can figure things out unless I'm actually doing it. So, it's getting smaller.
There we go. Look at that. Not that, I just don't want you to see my clothes hanging up behind me. Oh,
been a long night.
It's you know what? It's been a long couple of weeks for me.
Me too. Yeah.
Just family stuff on top of it. So it's just, yeah.
I'm gonna pop down for a bit, deal with my dogs, and
I can hear them.
Yeah, that was my dogs, I think. Or my dog.
Oh.
Yeah, he was my dog. She barked a couple of times. I had to mute really quick.
Okay.
Because,
I heard some whining too, and I'm like, oh, somebody's supper time.
Yeah, that might have been mine too. I'm not sure, but she puts on quite the show.
Aw.
But she's bossy. I offered to let her out before I came online, and she didn't want to go. And then 10 minutes later, she wants to go.
Of course.
She's like a toddler.
Yeah, pets are fun. At the beginning of the show, mine was doing this horrendous howling at the door because there was a raccoon in our backyard.
Oh, exciting. Yeah, we don't have raccoons in Alberta, which is weird. I grew up in
Yeah,
Ontario.
that is
Yeah,
weird. Yeah,
it just feels odd that raccoons don't exist here.
I know. It's like somebody saying that they didn't have squirrels, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, you know what? Chipmunks. We have chipmunks,
Yeah.
but I rarely see squirrels.
Oh, AI says cannabis chat myths and truths. Okay.
Must be just it's probably a bot that got lost.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even think we brought up cannabis, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, Alberta also doesn't have well, actually that's not entirely true, Sean. We have Danielle Smith.
Good one. Hmm. Everybody's thinking it. Hmm.
I've seen the rat signs and thought I should stop and take a picture because they have big like billboards, keep Alberta rat free, and I've always wanted to post a picture of Danielle Smith in the little
Oh, you
where the rat is.
should. You should.
Oh, I don't like to name call, but it's such a good one. It would be a great meme.
It would be. I know Path to Where did one today. I can't remember what it was now. It was something about like it was called the American Lake or something, and they put Canada across the word American.
Oh, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to take a look for that.
Yeah.
Has it been busy in here tonight? On and off?
On and off, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably gonna get quieter now because 9:30.
Yeah. Are you on next or?
I had signed up and so did Frontline.
Oh, okay.
Did you? Yeah, so I don't know if it's just me.
Oh.
Because I wasn't actually planning on coming up in the window, but maybe I should go get set up because you're probably tired, eh?
I'm not tired. I think it's just this is not my norm, even though I like to hang out in political lives.
Yeah,
It's not it I'm still learning a lot, right? So I do appreciate people coming up and talking because I'm like, yeah, I'm learning, right? So
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't know. I don't know everything about everything.
right.
So
So it's interesting. I liked hearing KRA. I don't know his full name, but while he was up here, that was really interesting for me. So
yeah.
yeah.
And what I was going to say is like I usually when I host on my laptop, so because I shamelessly Google things.
Yeah.
But I'm very open about the fact that I Google things. So you know what I mean? Like I'm going to fact check. I'm going to
Right.
fact check people.
Oh, Dylan,
Because-
thank you. Thank you. It was in, like I said, I learned a lot tonight, so I'm happy that a lot of people came up. Well, to me, that's a lot of people, but yeah, we typically just talk about the unhoused, so this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, you got a lot of knowledge in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, speaking, Jenna, are you going to do a live tonight also? I might take over this one. Whenever you're ready to go, I can just give me like 5 minutes and I can get it set up on my
Of
laptop.
course. Yeah, no, I can go right to midnight. That's fine. Like, take your time. I felt kind of funny because it was like when I first saw the times, I thought we were actually on from 6 to 9.
Right.
And I thought that's perfect for Urban, right? Because he goes to bed at 9. So when we found out it was 9 to 12, I'm like, well, I'm usually the one that stays up late. So I'm like, oh, I'll just do it. You go to bed, like.
Maybe I'm not even
and-
supposed to be on right now
and
because I might have signed up at the wrong time. I hope they're not counting on me for a different time. I'm going to take a look. I can go out without.
I was gonna say Sean was here. I don't know if he knows, but yeah, I get messed up. I get messed up with all this Eastern Pacific stuff. She'll probably. I know, Sean. I don't know if it was you or Pasty that told me to click on the picture and it would or the timeline and it would tell me if it was Eastern or I couldn't. it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't do anything when I clicked it on. I don't know if it was because it's on my phone or what, but it didn't show me. So, but I'm glad I asked before I came on the show because I was like, oh, okay, that was a good idea. Okay, so Frontline's doing it tonight. I did see Frontline come in for a second, but I think she left right away. Tiziana's probably just trying to figure it out now too. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's just sometimes I just think it's me, you know, because like I'm old and I just don't know how to do things. Sure, Panda, you can give us the weather. Oop. And there she goes.
Hi. So, yes, for TikTok legal purposes, I'm 29 years old.
Thanks.
Yeah, not a problem. But yeah, I've been kind of keeping an eye on like a lot of storm prediction maps coming out of the NWS, which thank goodness that hasn't been like axed yet. But it's looking like a 2% probability at this current moment for tornadoes into like the southwestern side of Ontario going into the south central side of Ontario.
Lovely. Does it say around what time?
Usually in the afternoon. That usually comes along with like daytime heating and whatnot, right? So
Right.
it's better to keep an eye on those sorts of conditions and whatnot as, of course, time goes on, right?
Right. Yes. So for those who haven't voted in southwestern Ontario, do it first thing in the morning.
I was gonna make a bad joke and say, let's hope they vote first. So we're on the same page.
That's right.
Right?
Well, grab your water bottles and
Don't
then
take
go
it
home.
personally, but go out early, vote, and then cover.
Well, be
Make sure
aware
you're
of watches
safety.
and warnings as they appear naturally, and always take them seriously.
That's right. Yeah.
And remember, this is why early voting is a great idea.
Exactly.
It might be why there was such a turnout.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't willing to risk it,
I
which
know.
sounds silly, but I'm just like, there's no reason I can't go on election day, but I'm just going to go. I went on Good Friday, the first day they opened.
Same here.
Yep. I'm like,
Yeah.
I just want to do this.
I just wanted to get it out of the way.
See, I waited till the Tuesday because I was like, everybody's going to go on the long weekend. I'm going to wait till everybody's gone.
Smart move. Well, I didn't wait
Yeah.
in the lineup, but I was there at an odd time. I was at 2 p.m, but there was not a lineup at all. But I heard that there were all
Yeah, I
over
had
the
a
place.
few people, not too many.
Yeah, I'm in the Brendan Suris riding. There, when I went later that afternoon on Good Friday, there wasn't as much as a lineup. I'm kind of expecting there to be a massive lineup by the time polls close Monday.
You know why though? Because conservatives don't like to vote early, and they don't like to vote early because they think it increases the chances of the ballots being tampered
Skewed.
with.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And I wish that wasn't the reason, but that's what I see. I've heard it too many times now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just reality is that they genuinely believe that, and we don't. So
Yeah.
That just makes you think like what kind of mind you have when that's what you think.
well, it's the conspiracy theories, and I think it's just easier. I wonder. This might come off as rude, and I don't mean it to be, but I do wonder how much of it has to do with laziness, and that
That's
it's
what
easier
I'm
to just
wondering.
believe what you
That's
read
what-
on Facebook and everywhere else
Yeah,
And
that's what I'm kind of wondering. My fiance is a card carrying Green Party member, and we don't have a Green candidate in our area.
No.
yeah,
So he's still trying to make a decision between like liberals and NDP.
Mhm.
well, and that's the funny thing with the whole thing with Jagmeet that came out, the never trust a liberal.
Mhm.
Where was I going with this? I don't think like that's not going to push people to the conservatives. If you're an NDP and you hear that, you're going to go green or liberal.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to go to the far right. Like I don't see an NDP or
No.
going, oh well, or a liberal. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what did he hope to accomplish by that?
I maybe trying to drive votes away from the liberals.
I think so,
I
but
don't know.
but I don't think he thought it through.
No, I don't think
No.
so either. And like as somebody who like actually like believes in the NDP and like their message and everything,
Mhm.
honestly everything that's happened with smart voting with Jessica, that honestly hurts.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
That
And I
tweet
I
was
don't
that,
even know the whole story about Jessica.
yes,
And I
that,
don't know, like, if you want to tell it, if she's okay with it being told, then I'd love to know what happened. But if we're not sure that she is, I don't want to further.
Yeah, and I
You know what I
personally
mean?
don't want to just because like that is her story and it's her story
Exactly.
to tell.
Exactly.
Right?
So if
So-
she hasn't clearly said that, then I don't want to hear it. Like, has she gone through it on her page though?
I believe so, yes.
So I just need to go look a little bit
Yeah.
on her page. Like I know a little bit about it, but like I said, I don't. Yeah, and I know about the
Of course the smart voting.
Mhm.
yeah, that one. You know, it's hard to not know all the details. With Jessica, I know some of it, but I don't know all the details.
Yeah.
But it was enough to go, geez, you know, like just what I know.
Mhm.
Yeah. I was like, this is like real political orphan hours. So
Yeah, like like the NDP just burned so many bridges, and hurt people that have people that follow them, and you know
Yeah.
yeah.
are
Yeah, and there's a lot of blame being put elsewhere, and for me, it just feels like it was like a feelings over fact thing that happened.
yeah.
Yeah. I think somebody was speculating like yesterday or something that they think there may have been a conservative involved with a lot of the stuff that's been happening with the NDP lately.
Like a saboteur or an insider.
Yeah, kind of like a saboteur. Like they got on as a part of like the
Yeah.
upper part of the team.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of directed where the NDP went.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it makes sense because, like, the stuff that really stands out is whenever I've seen Jagmeet talking like pee-pee.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's happened, I've seen at least twice that I can remember very clearly, and probably more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I let a lot of things go. This for me was just that I'm done defending him now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's because I've defended him, and no, there's just nothing to defend now.
Right?
It's too many things, one
It'll-
after the other, and that was
it'll
just
be
the final.
interesting. After the election, do you have any predictions as to what's going to happen to the parties, or?
I've been also hearing a lot of rumors that the conservatives might end up splitting.
I could see that possibility because not all of them are going to be as far right as what PP's brought and Harper have brought the party to.
Yeah.
They're those that probably look back on the Mulrooney as the good old days, you know? And he wasn't, he was horrible, but conservatives loved him. So,
Yeah, I personally don't know what's going to happen with the NDP. They might have to do some soul searching and come back, kind of, I guess, how they ended up losing with Mulcair and ended up coming back with Jagmeet,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So I
Yeah, they
think
need
it's
to
about
rebrand,
time they
rebrand.
have to do some soul searching again.
Yeah.
they need to rebrand and decide where they are, and
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
they need to reassess everything. Really,
Exactly.
it's they need to like but sometimes and this would sound very bad if you were a part of the party, but I don't mean to sound putting it, and I'm not putting it down, but making it simple. But sometimes you need to get knocked down to come back up, and you know.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I'm not a card carrying member, so this doesn't bother me as much.
The only thing that makes me sad is that Charlie Angus isn't going to be part of that rebuild, because even if he didn't take the lead,
Oh, I know.
he could be very instrumental in helping them rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he might change his mind. I don't think he would. I think he would have by now, but
because a lot of people that were hopeful, but from people that I know that know him say it's not going to happen. So,
and some people have brought up Weeb. Wob. Thank you.
Like as much as I adore the idea of WAP going federal, we still need him here in Manitoba.
Yeah. Oh, I think that's fair for you to be selfish, and I just, I worry. Like, I don't know. Again, I don't know everything, but I know that he has a bit of a past, and I don't think that should be an issue.
He does have he does have a bit of a past, yes, but he's definitely come a long way since then, right?
Well, and I think that's so much more important. But is the average, person in Canada on that same page?
Right.
That's the thing is nobody has a clean slate, right? Everybody has a past, everybody has baggage.
I actually prefer
it's how
that
you
we just
dealt
happen to
with
know
it.
what it is, and it's done. You know what I mean? It's not something that's going to come bite him later. It's already out there, so it's harder to use something that you've just owned and become a better person.
Right.
After.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I like I said, I'm one of those people that would definitely vote for Wob if he was running. And I don't think that, like I hear a lot of people say that he needs more time. I would vote for him tomorrow. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm proud to say that I voted for my MLA, which is now actually one of the Minister of like rural stuff. I don't know the full title. But yeah, our MLA is one of the ministers in Wab's cabinet, so that makes me super happy.
Yeah. So, Jana, I take it that you're not going on after me?
I think I am. Is the best. I think I'm the one to take over. I only think that because you're the first, and I'm like 3 hours in. So if you've been on for 3.5 hours, or make that almost 4, then it's me taking over.
Okay.
Are you ready to go?
I think I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering because Sean said something about no, he thought it was Frontline, but
It was Frontline, but
okay.
I don't know where Frontline is. So
Okay.
I could check quickly, I suppose.
Yeah,
What
no,
I'll do
or
is-
you can start, and if she comes in, she takes over. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Because
Okay.
yeah. Okay,
All
so
right.
give me just 5 minutes and I'll be
All right,
popped
no
up.
problem.
Okay.
For sure.
I'll just type
Yeah.
a message in when I'm ready. Bye.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Okay. But yeah, I think I'm gonna hop down too, just because y'all are doing the switch right, and I just thought I'd bring up hey, there's a little bit of a weather concern coming in for Ontario, so
It's good to know. I wouldn't have even known. So, and even though I'm in southeastern Ontario, I'm sure we're gonna get something. So,
a little bit of something, yeah, but I don't think
Little bit.
something too crazy. So
right now, no, it's that time of year. Yes.
it is, yeah. Storm season's officially here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming up and giving us that little piece of info.
Absolutely, it's always a pleasure.
I'm going to see. There's only 12 people in here. So, yeah, just letting you guys know that Jana will be on next. We are doing a 24-hour election connection. I am probably going to be on again tomorrow. I'm going to let you up for a few minutes, but I won't be up for long.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad. Let me just put headphones in so I
Echoing.
Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
I am going to be shutting down in a second to let Jana up, but
Okay.
So
I,
yeah,
I just wanted
you have a couple minutes though. So
Yeah, I just wanted to actually give some feedback. Because I actually just came into the live here, but
yeah.
there was almost I don't know if you heard, but there was almost 1,000 people that was at the Marconi rally in Edmonton today.
Oh yeah, I actually watched it. One of my friends was there and went live, so it was excellent.
Oh, they were lucky then because there was a group of us that came out there,
Yeah.
and nobody could get live. Like there was like it was just too many cell phones there. So your friend was lucky.
That's
Because
crazy.
we had people with Freedom Mobile, we had people with Telus and with Kudo and with Rogers, and nobody could get live. Like
Really?
yeah, like
Wow.
I personally recorded almost 30 minutes worth of footage, and he was on stage for about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And there was nobody. I couldn't upload it until I got home. Even that's how bad the Edmonton signals were. But
You know what?
throughout the whole city.
It's interesting though, because somebody else I know was at a rally a couple days ago, and they said they couldn't get a signal at that rally, and I'm thinking, I wonder if they had blockers going on.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, which would
Yeah, I never
I
even
don't know
thought about that
why.
because like I have an iPhone and I couldn't even send an iMessage, so that possibly could be true.
Yeah, yeah, and I know that. Well, I guess there have been has there been any outside? I know there was groups of people outside after the rallies, but have there been
Oh
any
yeah, there was.
rallies
Yeah,
outside?
or I don't know if any rallies outside, but at today's event there was about 700 inside and
Okay,
between 300 to 400 outside, standing in line just listening to loudspeakers.
right,
Right. It actually took out. They had filled every single parking lot, so even businesses couldn't even have their customers throughout an
right.
entire. And like we were right outside of a bar as well. Like there was a bar in the parking lot, and the rally. He took stage at 5 p.m. Alberta time, and the hockey game started at 6.
Mm,
So it's just like it was like yeah, pretty crazy for that.
yeah. Yeah, no, I don't do rallies because I just get claustrophobic.
Oh,
But
yeah, this is the first I've ever attended to. This was the first I ever attended, and
yeah,
yeah, it was pretty intense.
yeah,
Um, and then there was I'm not gonna say because was there and I know how many there is, but will tell you that the amount of plainclothes security that he
yeah,
had, especially because of the event that happened last night, which he addressed in his opening line,
right.
um, was the number of plainclothes officers there was probably well, I don't have enough digits on my hands or feet or toes. And
Yeah,
that was just people that you could tell from the way that they stood or the way that they acted that they
right,
were not there for the rally. They were there for Merck
right.
in a
Yeah.
good way, of course.
Yeah, I was watching and I could see, yeah, they were, scoping the rooms and stuff. And then I
Yeah,
noticed outside afterwards how many police officers were there. Of course, there was tons of
yeah,
police, which I
yeah. I
do
think
know
those
there
are
was
good.
there was an incident the night before. Somebody tried to grab him or something from the,
No, actually, it was because of the Filipino event that happened in Vancouver. They
yeah,
didn't try
no,
to like.
I understand that as well. But like, I do know that, yeah, somebody in the crowd tried to grab him. Like they jumped him. Like,
I did not hear about that. That's the
yeah,
thing. I'll be honest. I did not know about that, and I keep pretty like. Actually, you just had Panda in as I was leaving.
yeah,
As I came in, and yeah, we are in a political Discord group together, and yeah, I have not heard anything of that.
yeah. I don't know if it was because I know yesterday he did three different events, right? So I'm not sure which event it happened at, but we did have friends that were there and said that they had seen it happening, and yeah, it was just kind of weird that somebody just tried to jump on him.
Yeah,
So, and you never know, like you don't know if it's just some crazy fan trying to get a hug or
yeah,
somebody actually wanted him, right? Like,
yeah. Well, some of the
Yeah.
craziest fans who are there for the best intentions
Yeah.
end up not being the best intentions because, well, perfect example is in the about 10 years ago there was a music star. She was on The Voice. She made fourth place on The Voice. She was on her tour, and a fan ended her life.
Wow.
And that was just because he thought that by doing it, he outright admitted in court. He outright admitted that by doing it, he was sending a message to the producers of the show that they made a mistake, that by only giving her fourth place,
Wow.
and which is absolutely insane. Like
Yes, it
those,
is. It's scary
like,
stuff, man.
and well, it would be. I think it would be a Canadian first if we ever had one that was actually physically hurt. I think it would be a first.
Yeah.
And like, because yeah, Canada, we only have our 40. This would be our 45th total general election in the history of our country, and yeah, I don't know of anything that anytime it's ever happened.
Yeah, I don't think I know of any. I my memory's not the greatest, but like, yeah, I don't think I remember any.
Yeah, like, and I could be completely wrong, and if somebody wants to correct me and say that did happen, by all means, I'll take the correction.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so. Thanks, Pixie, for doing that. Yeah, I'm just gonna check through here, make sure I didn't miss any
Yeah.
here. Okay.
And I just realized I had accidentally hit unfollow earlier because I know I was following you before. But it must have missed. So
It's been happening a lot lately. I've gone in and seen that. I know that I've followed these people for years, and all of a sudden I'm not following them, and I'm like, what the heck, TikTok?
the biggest one I know of is Frank Dominic out of Toronto. Actually, I think he's out of Mississauga, but close enough. I have had to follow him probably a dozen times since I was introduced to him 2 years ago.
Which Dominic?
Frank Dominic, the teacher who does
Okay.
political. Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
There's another Dominic on here that's very problematic. So I was like,
Oh, is there? Oh,
yeah.
yeah. No, I am very much problematic. People can back away. I'll just say
Right.
that.
That's right.
Yeah.